Okay, guys, here we go. Welcome to the live. Happy I guess it's hump day, isn't it? It's Wednesday. One more day of work, and that's my Friday. Anyways, thank you guys for being here. Of course, if you haven't hit the like and the share for Jack and Lily, please do at some point during the live. That would be amazing. So, hi, Carrie. How are you on there? Tambourines in the house. Uh, Kimberly. Hello, Sunny Mods in chat. Justice for Jack and prayers. Sorry, my bad. I can't read, obviously. For Lily and Jack, love to all. Sharon Parker's in the house. Hi, Mods. Thank you for being here. Hi, Brian. How are you? And let's see, Little Black Bear. Our sunny sunshine. So good to be here. Thought you were singing to me there for a second, eh? Anyways, nice to see you guys. Streamlabs, of course, is in the house. Obviously, if you use your punctuation, it's going to tell you you're dropping a link. Thank you for subscribing. Cutter559, thank you for being here. Crazy Gals in the house. And let's see, mods and members, heart. Hi, Tom Lou. How are you? Hello, everyone. Sunny Mods guests and everyone here. Jack and Lily and there. And can't say that I recall this name myself. Sorry if that's offensive. I don't recall ever saying, hi, Universal. How are you? So I'm not really sure. Hey, Sunny, thanks for what you do. Keep going, facts and entertaining stories. Thank you. Thanks to all of you guys, too, for keeping Jack and Lily's story and, out there for everyone. So thank you guys as well. Susanna, hi, how are you? Oh, there's Pinky's in the house. Pinky. Pink. You know, I think it's when I see your name, Pinky. I do love a good shade of pink. Hi, Ship Hector. How are you? And Sing Birdie's in the house. JJ, this is not going to be a 5-hour live, people. I'm telling you, I don't know what it was. I want to say that I slept enough, but about 2 hours into my shift, I was like, felt like I was dragging myself around. JJ57, nice to see you. I'm always here. I don't know why. I don't feel like I've ever said your name, Universal. It's like I just don't recall saying it off my tongue. So I'm apologize on that one. I just don't recall. And Susanna, we have there. Susanna, for Christ. Snarky Pants, how are you today? Hi, Anne Marie, nice to see you. Who I got? Okay, I'm just trying to scroll now. Monica's in the house. Whoops, wait, there you are. Oh my God, it slipped up on me. I went to go click on your name, and then all of a sudden Streamlabs came up instead. I've been here for. Did you change your name though? Did you change your name? Because like I said, I just swear that I've never recall saying the word universal off my tongue on there. Or am I just delusional here? Like Daniel. Anyways, you guys, thank you guys for being here. I will start off by saying that I will not I wouldn't call it say an interesting conversation, but most of you guys should know, even though you guys don't know, say where I work. And I will not say where I work. I'm a customer service agent, and so of course deal with phone calls and emails all day. So towards the end of my shift, I get a phone call, and the person, I could tell by the number that she gave me, it was an East Coast number. Now, for me, I know that that number is odd, and so it was a 902 number. And so I asked her how I could assist her. And then she said she was from, guess where? Nova Scotia. So I said, oh, Oh, okay, Universal. Thank you. On there. Well, always a pleasure to have you guys that follow the channel, and have subscribed. As you guys know, I keep always putting 5 hours on my lives because I don't need the riffraff that want to come along if I put 5 minutes. I want to be able to talk to the subscribers because you guys are the ones that are subscribed, that make the views count and stuff like that. Not to say that people randomly watching, but I just think that the people that earn the right for me to see their conversations are the people that are subscribed versus the people that just come just to, watch and can talk in the chat. So to me, either you subscribe or that, or not type of idea. I just think it, like I said, with things in life come little perks. And I just feel like the subscribers deserve more so than someone that's not subscribed and then take up the chat and then it gets too much, in a sense. So I just prefer to keep it to the people that are actually subscribed. So that's why I keep having the you have to have a 5 hour minimum on there, which to me, I'm absolutely cool with that. So I'll come back to that. Yeah, Shannon. Yeah, I know. I mean, I know that Shannon has definitely her, health issues coming on and stuff like that. So prayers to Shannon, you know, um, you know, we'll just say cancer is not a fun thing for anybody, right? And or dealing with, you know, all the doctors and different things all the time. And so prayers for Shannon always, and anyone else that's struggling with health issues. Prayers, Sunny. No, a little bit too, but not to that extent. Hi, Carla. How are you? Yes, it does make sense. It makes sense to me, right? If I was trying to swallow up clicks and views and the riffraff of some people that try to come in and stuff, no, thank you. I don't need that type of stuff, right? My channel will grow based on honesty and integrity. That's how it will grow. Um, so anyways, I get this call. Like I said, and the person's from Nova Scotia. So I just said, "Oh, you obviously must know about Jack and Lily's case." And she's like, "Oh yeah." Now, when she first said where she was from, I'm not going to say her name though, but where she said what she was from, I said, I wasn't quite sure what she said. I thought she said Pearl, and then she said, "No, Truro," which obviously everyone here knows Truro. And then she goes, yeah, she goes, and then she said, "I know the mother very good." Now, when she said the mother, I was saying off names, and then she was, "What's her name again?" And I was like, "You mean Patty?" Because I knew what she was referring to at this point. And then she's like, "Yeah, I worked alongside her a long time and da 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 da, you know, um, and like wonderful lady." And she's like, "It's just a really, really, really sad case." Then I went about my business, and then I kind of brought it back. And I did ask her what her thoughts were, like on the case. Um, she didn't really want to like say anything about that. Besides, it's just really a sad case, and that Truro and the surrounding areas, Bible Hill, she said, like, are a very close knit community. Everybody knows everybody, you know. Because at first, when she said, when she was talking, I was like, "Who are you talking about? Belinda, Cindy, Patty? Who are you going? Tell me, I know, you know." And but anyways, um, so she didn't answer like to what her thoughts were on it, and fair enough, right? A lot of people, you know, don't necessarily, especially the elderly. You could tell she was elderly. Um, that's where I live in Truro. Yeah. But and the thing is, like I said, I don't want to say her name because obviously, you know, say Patty would know the name if I said it and stuff like that. So I'll just keep it as, the lady that I was speaking to. So, but yeah, so it was just kind of nice because I was just talking to her like after for about 5 minutes. It's part of my job, all right, talking to people about true crime in there, but no. But yeah, so it just anyone that ever says Nova Scotia, I'm like, "Oh, you must know about Jack and Lily Sullivan case. And all she kept saying really was just how horribly sad it was, that simply they just would like to have some closure, and stuff. Um, so that was my little thing today as I was closing off of work. There wasn't much else said, you know, it was just about the sadness of the case and stuff like that. How did you get my phone number? Well, it's not that it's my phone number, it's the work phone number, right? I'm a customer service agent. And so people call in all day long about their issues, or in this case, um, I knew that this issue, just by the number, was something that we don't typically deal with that type of phone number, because that's like East Coast stuff. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, I've had a couple of numbers call from 902 area, but yeah, as soon as you said Nova Scotia, I'm just like, hmm. But then when she said Truro, I'm like, hmm. you know. So yeah, you live in Pictou. Am I saying that right? By the way, I can't remember. Pictou. I think I'm saying it right. I remember struggling with it at the start of the case. All the different. I remember even like most people were struggling with Mahala's name. People would say Mahala, you know, Malaya, So uh, just someone like said, people would be spelling it out. How do you say it right? Pinky, I've lived in Pictou for 20 years. Yeah, it was just a fluke. Yeah, absolutely. I just happened to get her. She said Nova Scotia, and I was just like, ooh, I love our Shannon. She needs more than me. Aw, that's sweet of you there. Just trying to see if I missed anything. Yeah. Yep. Let's just give big hug, everybody. Big prayers and hugs. Sharon, I'm praying hard. She's been so sweet to me, no matter what name I'm using this week. She stands out in the crowd with her heart. People always stand out to me with their hearts. Right, Cheryl? Cher cares. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. All those puns and sweet things that people do. It's just always nice in life, you know. Honestly, to me, if you're in the true crime, it means, there's a lot of like ignorant people for sure, right? That over a computer or whatever. But for me, it's like, for the most part, it's where empaths come, people that have had like something happen in their life, you know, in their family and stuff like that. That, like, take Melissa AJ, right? Her son, one son was murdered, and so it's like sometimes you just find some solace in true crime, or maybe you just have a passion because you like true crime, But for the most part, I always take things like when people are in true crime, it's supposed to be about empathy, compassion, and care, So people that are deep empaths and really caring, are usually the people in life that pay it forward, right? And like we were kind of talking about yesterday, I've never done anything with the expectation that somebody had to give me something back because I did something. It's all, I never even think of it that way. It's just with the expectation that you just do things. Now, this channel is about doing something because we can do something, right? Meaning we can bring awareness, even if we don't like the situations of these cases. you know in the true crime, it's about bringing awareness, keeping cases out there. A lot of families would be begging to have their cases out there. I know that the drama and the you know different things happen. That just kind of goes with the territory, and I fully am aware of that, and that's why it doesn't impact me. Like I said, sometimes I'll poke a bear for sure, just because I feel like it that day. But for the most part, it's really about the focus of cases. and talking about them, bringing awareness. And like I said, most families would love to have, you know, people covering their cases out there. And that's the only reason why I stay in it, to be honest with you. And again, the channel is about being sincere with integrity, and I don't need the subs or the views by people that I don't deserve to be in here, in a sense, right? You know, you either be kind to each other, talk nicely to each other, respect the other people's opinions, because there's no need to be nasty because of it, you know. Don't use people's content and then slag them, you know, creator and stuff like that. There's no need of it. I'm from Nova Scotia and live in Toronto. Is that Toronto? TO? Toronto now? On there. I've only ever been to Newfoundland. That's my ex-husband is from Newfoundland, and I was only there once, and that's when my son was getting dedicated when he was 2 years old. Other than that, can't say I've been past Saskatchewan. Sharon, yes, love, our little butterfly, Shannon. Aw. I've lived here 40 years. Hey, Brian, suck on that one. All right. Pinky, I've lived on Victoria Street. I feel like we're having the War of Pictou right now. I'm just out of the town. Justice for Jack and Lily. It's just a big empathy, have a big heart. We can kind of feel what's going on in the air by the way we feel. Absolutely. Okay. Hi, Mustang girl. How are you? I'm in Saskatchewan and never been to beautiful BC. You know, soon enough, me and my husband will head on back to Alberta. So I've lived in Alberta half my life. I was born here, born in Vancouver General Hospital, lived in many different parts of here, but I spent back and forth between Alberta and BC. My mom moved us out to Alberta when we were like 12. Yeah, that was it. Then she moved back when we were like 15 or 16. Then I hopped on a bus all by my big self. And that's when I was with that abusive relationship for 11 years, you know? Eh, So, I mean, for people that have been in abusive relationships, I can relate to the situation, you know, of someone like Malaya. I can, you know, but that's kind of not we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about answers for Jack and Lily. So whatever issues and all that stuff going on, if it wasn't for Jack and Lily, I would absolutely have that empathy about that part of it, for sure. I mean, I can definitely associate, but that's not why we're here. I'm not here to talk about our health issues or mental health issues and stuff like that. You know, deal with that shit. This is about Jack and Lily, and they matter the most about what we're talking about. Thank you, Melissa. Nice to see you. All right. That's funny that you say that I'm going to Newfoundland. Are you going to Newfoundland? Yeah. uh, I played Ringette and Truro and Pictou. Oh, okay. Oops, 1 second. Husband's here. 1 sec. Oh my God, my husband's so funny. He literally just went to the store because he's like, "What do you want? You know those rotisserie chickens or whatever?" And so he's like, "I'm gonna go get a rotisserie chicken, and I'm gonna have just make a chicken sandwich with gravy and stuffing." And I said, "Okay, well," I said, "I don't want a chicken sandwich. I just want the chicken and gravy and stuffing." And so he just came in the room, and he's like, "What did you want on your chicken sandwich?" I just put mayo and whatever on it, and I'm like, "No," I said, "I didn't want a chicken sandwich. And where's the fuck's the gravy?" He's not with it today. Neither am I as much, but whatever. I swear to God, like my husband, seriously, he could ask me, like, "I'm going to the store with my brother. What do you want?" And I'll be like, just get me this one thing, right? And then he'll come back and he'll be like, oh, for fuck's sakes, in his British accent there. And I'm like, what? And he's like, totally forgot to get you. He does that all the time. I'm like, how do you forget one thing? Like the one thing. I don't know. I just got around to looking around, totally forgot. He's so bad for that. So I left 43 years ago and never looked back, Ship Hector says. Okay, so I thought we'd start this off because I really do like that video. It's 9 minutes long, but I'll probably stop and start throughout it. It's when, well, I'll play it, but it's the one where they're kind of talking about, the year, and, a lot of things I think will obviously resonate with us. I really love this video because it really epitomizes, I think, a lot of our thoughts about this case and stuff like that. He's saving money on there. But what else? I think that was it for now. Yeah. So let me pull that up. Share screen. I really love this video. I think it says so much. Is it this one? Is it this one? Come on. I have it. It's right. Oh, it is this one. Oh, okay. I guess the front of it just changed a little bit from when I was looking a second ago. No, that's not it. That's not the one. 1 second. Ah, here it is. I pulled the wrong one to the side there. My bad. My bad. Okay, this one right here. So, like I said, we're going to play it. I'm probably going to stop and start it because I think that this one, like I said, just really, epitomizes what most people think. We're having chicken burgers. KFC? Anyone having KFC? Danielle, are you having KFC today? Oh, you know what was funny? When I was on my break and I was just sitting outside on the bench and whatever, eh? And all of a sudden I'm hear this noise in the sky and it's a helicopter. What do you think I thought about? What do you think I thought about when I heard that helicopter? Right? Tell you, my brain's never off this case. You guys know, obviously, that I figured that, you know what, Daniel, obviously when you're out of service, the helicopters go up and they're like, Daniel, where are you? We're here to protect you, Daniel. Daniel, we're your lifesavers here. Anyways, all I could think about when I saw the helicopter was Daniel. I'll never get over that statement. I don't think I'll ever. Yeah. You know what? That particular statement was so freaking delusional, to be honest. It just, when you just keep laughing inside because you can't believe that somebody actually said that, but yet they did. And I don't know if he actually believes it's true or if he's trying to get us to believe that it's true. Anyways, okay. Yeah, helicopter guardian angels, yeah. Yeah. Maybe one day we'll see the actual police helicopter, right? Well, I mean, I guess he's claiming that they are, Maybe they'll put him in one of those little baskets and be like, you're under arrest. Give me all your KFC. Okay, let me hit play on this. And
a year later to have no real investigative indicators, given that the police are still asking for tips.
I'll be right back.
And are actually also stating that they don't believe foul play is involved. This is extremely on track of physical evidence. I mean, the recovery of the blanket in the boot is somewhat ominous. And I mean, a year later, we can reasonably state that or speculate that the children are presumed to be deceased, that then leaves without any.
Stop it. We'll stop it there quickly already. So the one thing I do want to ask you guys in chat is, who here believes that boot was part of, say, planting, or that it literally has nothing to do with the case? That the blanket does, say, but not so much the boot. I've always been very torn on that one myself because my gut always said that it wasn't, and it was some other child that has, that's been out there on a quad, but it was I think it was the circumstances around it, that that they're like, we don't really know, but that there's no say, typically you would see a bunch of, if it's children, right, they're with a parent or something, and you would see kind of like a muck and a trail, perhaps type of thing, or, a few more than just like one blueprint. What do you guys think? You think Chance planted it? Chance has a black car. I visited his Facebook many months ago. Either planted or that Janie missed raking it. Not the one, sorry, not the one in the yard, but the one that is down the pipeline. That one, the one that's down the pipeline. I don't think the boot print is relevant. Sorry, I missed it. You mean the boot in the drop, right? So pipeline. My bad. Ooh, which reminds me. That reminds me of a picture that somebody sent me. Father's Day for DM, I think nothing. You're right. Father's Day's this Sunday, isn't it? Yeah. I was going to say I was too busy thinking about my husband's birthday on the 22nd that totally keep forgetting about. He's not a father. Well, he's a father to our two cats. That counts. But yeah, I kind of skip Father's Day a lot of the times. I do remember once when my son when my son said, "Hey, Mom, can you give me money so I can buy Dad a present?" Or I think it was a drink or a present or something, a couple drinks. And I'm like, "So, son, you've never given me shit for Mother's Day. You want me to give you money for your dad, my ex?" I did. I just thought it was, you got nerve, son. Never a Mother's Day was going by and he wouldn't say Happy Mother's Day. Sometimes he would, most times he wouldn't. But I was like, really? You're literally asking me for money so you can buy my ex, your father, a present? And you get them shit from Mother? I'm the one that slid you out. You're the one that weighed 8 pounds, 7 ounces. I gave birth at 807. That's how I can never forget that. I did teach him empathy. I did. I know it's there. I always remember the time that he called me on his way back, to my place. And this is when, Matthew would see me on certain days and goes back to his dad's. He'd like come to my house. But I always remember that phone call that I got from him that he's like, Mom, guess what? He goes, "I totally forgot my glasses at 7-Eleven." Now, this is in Whitecourt, Alberta, okay? "I totally forgot my dragon sunglasses." And he goes, "You know what, Mom? This guy, he ran after me to bring me my sunglasses, and he didn't have to, Mom." And that's when I tell him, exactly, Matt. That's what I'm talking about the kindness, right? And so that's where I knew that just by him calling me to tell me that this guy didn't have to do it, but he did. He could have stole these $500 glasses that my son had, I guess, purchased for himself. But so I know that the things that I taught him are there. Unfortunately, most of what his dad taught him overrides a lot of that. Unfortunately, let's see here. I want to show you guys a picture in a second. Oops, down the pipeline. I don't think it's relevant. Some of you guys, I'm sure, have seen it already. Oh, that was planted. I don't know, probably unrelated, because I thought I was told the pipeline had people riding ATVs constantly, right? It was either planted or want from Lily and Jack. 5 to none. 5 to none. I'm not even sure what that means, but it's 5 to none. Yes. I thought it was probably some other child. I don't think Lily and Jack would walk the pipeline. Well, no. I don't think they were, only if someone brought them there. Right. What I'm trying to get over is this one boot thing, one boot in the driveway, right? Daniel originally, if you watch the one interview, he'll say that there was two boot prints in the driveway. Then that story switched up to just the one, but he kept saying two, right? And then all of a sudden his mom would say like one. And I'm like, there you guys go again. You can't keep your shit and stories straight. If the print was fresh, then probably planted. I think so too. Art could have been planted. Oh, Father's Day. If it was planted, then the planter would have gotten rid of the boot, though maybe not planted. Now, how many here think that the either do 100% or put 0? How many of you guys here think the blanket was planted? I don't think that's a no-brainer too, but is there anyone out here that doesn't think it was planted? Too few, for instance, very old and planted. Cluster, one full boot print. Okay, let me just quickly find that one picture here. It's got a, I know who sent it to me. Right here. I'll bring that down. And then we'll bring that down. You guys might have seen it already, so that's okay, but some people might not have. 100, 100, 100. Definitely planted. Blanket was planted, so was boot prints. 100. Absolutely. You know what? I'm even going far as to say 1,000,000%. Absolutely planted. Like I said, that whole blanket thing, each piece of the case we talk about for Jack and Lily, there's no consistency. We could talk about, when they went outside and, Daniel and Malaya did not go over to Janie's with this stupid excuse. We know that that's not normal, but we could talk about any portion of this case and it's so much mumbo jumbo, right? It's so diluted, with a bunch of lies and inconsistencies. It doesn't matter what. So that always tells me the same thing over and over. Whenever this type of actions are going on, it's because these people are lying. It's as simple as that. A consistent story will stay mostly consistent through and through. But this one, you could punch probably 1,000 bullet holes in this entire case with everything that's been said. And that's when you know that the lies are going on. And it's just a matter of, again, we're obviously not going to be the ones to solve the case. It's RCMP. But we can talk about the inconsistencies. I mean, that's really, the brunt of this case is just trying to look at a timeline that's based upon people that are only telling partial truths and partial lies in their stories and stuff like that. And so then that's why it doesn't make sense. Yes. And that's just it, right? With the blanket, I don't think this is a no-brainer on this one. I truly feel myself that the RCMP did, like I said, you always remember that when Daniel's speaking, what he's trying to portray is the truth as he's telling it. The actual answer to that's going to be different. Okay, we all know that the helicopters were not flying up there because Daniel was freaking out of service, right? So it's like when they say that the blanket was planted, they're looking for a reaction, in my opinion. So we'll just say that obviously whatever we talk about when it comes to talking about the people on the property is all speculation and theories and all that stuff. So anyways, so we all know that, like I said, when they're saying like, yeah, Daniel, the blanket is planted, they're looking for that reaction, And then Daniel's going to portray it that, well, why would they tell me that? Right. I mean, they obviously know that I had nothing to do with it, that I was deemed as pretty much the parental figure of Jack and Lily from the start, and I'm the one that ran, through the woods and the water and almost got, impacted and impaled, by this. Now, again, delusional, or what normal people would know, that doesn't make sense at all. So what does make sense is Luke and Narc, and that Luke Sergeant that brought it, with the cadaver dog, saying to Daniel, "We don't believe your story." They're trying to ruffle his feathers. They're seeing what he's saying. They're watching his actions, his, every movement in a sense, because they're just trying, you know what I mean? They're obviously like body language, right? And so, but Daniel wants us to believe the opposite of that. Now, either he's delusional, or he is just purposely, well, first of all, the ego kicks in there. But, you know, if you say black, you might as well say white, because Daniel does this all the time. Tries to make us believe like, I'm the best parent. I'm not saying I'm the greatest, but I did everything for Jack and Lily. Well, then his own words changed that whole, perception when he was on Charmaine's live and mine, and everything Malaya was doing. Hey, I thought you did everything, right? And it's just like someone that I just feel like it's someone that's totally out in left field, that tries to sell us stuff that doesn't make sense to normal ears or people listening. And I say to myself, like, how do you not know how ridiculous this sounds? How do you not know how ridiculous it sounds to tell us that you're legit taking courses? That I'm telling basically the searchers how they should be searching, about the mapping and all. Like, and you know full well that he was probably looking up about lie detector tests and all that different shit. He constantly is doing that stuff. Daniel wants to know everything about this case, but it's when he tells us these things, it's like, dude, you just keep gifting us with all these treats. Every time you open your mouth, you're usually just giving us another treat. Anyways, I'll come back to this video because, like I said, we'll start and stop it because I think that this thing just has so much compacted with how most of us feel. But I do want to bring up image file. So we're gonna go to um, uh, this picture of Lily. Belinda had posted, and someone had sent it to me. And I'll bring up this picture first. So that's Lily, but it's what's there. Remember Janie? Reiki, Janie. Now, you guys remind me on this one. Did Janie say that she had bought a pool for the kids? Did she herself say that she bought the children a pool? Because obviously, in the background of Lily to the right is a pool that's in the trailer. It's not in Janie's trailer. I'm just trying to remember now. I should have looked. Well, I didn't have time because I just got home, not too long before the live. Do you guys remember about if she said that she got the kids a pool, or did she just say she was Reiki for a pool? Trying to remember that. Shed, I thought. It was given to her, she said. Yeah, is that what she said? Okay, because we'll have to play those clips later. So, anyways, but the point is, obviously, is that so if you have a pool, what happened there? I brought up the wrong picture. 1 second. The thing moved on me as I clicked it. Oh my God! Stop clicking on the wrong thing. Anyway, thank you for becoming a member, Kimberly. Janie said that someone gave it to her. Okay. Well, This is worth it. Why is it bringing? Oh, here it is. Wait, hold on. Remove from studio. Oh, there I am up nice and close again. Love it when I do that to myself. Add to stage. Okay. Because it's just because there's a pool in the trailer, right? Now, I don't know what the date of that picture was, but obviously they had a pool. Her brother, she said she was raking for a pool. Can't remember. For a pool, can't remember if she bought it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to find those clippings about the pool on there just to see. But bottom line is, if there was a pool in the trailer already, well, the thing that sticks in my head is this. Hi, Fire Horse. She said she got the pool from someone who took theirs down and gave it to her. Well, this one's definitely in a box, you know. So this one hasn't even been opened yet. It's not even a big pool. You know how it looks bigger probably on the how they make it look a lot bigger than what it is when you actually put it up. But what was I saying? Totally forgot what I was saying. I was too busy. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Okay. So when Janie was showing her property, you know, we'll just say this. When the police didn't believe her, right? Timu pool, art for the win. Um, so when the RCMP said to Janie that they didn't believe her timeline. Okay, as Janie is showing, say, people the property, basically to try to prove that she was being truthful. At no point I was told by people that would have been on the not meaning family members, okay, I'll exclude them. But people that would have been on that property, had said that Janie never told, well, we'll just put it this way. Janie never said to any media that she was putting a pool there. So why didn't, and that's just, like I said, I mean, obviously that's, third hand information in a sense, right? But, absolutely would believe this person that had told me. But bottom line is, so if you're putting a pool there and you're trying to show people that, look, this is, why wouldn't you have said at that point that you were raking a pool? I mean, it was a pretty prominent rake size there. Not that I believe the kids were underneath that raked area, but meaning, why didn't you say it? And then when you have a pool here, so was it this one became useless? Take it back to Walmart type thing? Temu, give it off back to Temu, and Janie got somehow a bigger one. Who knows? But it's just one of those things that if you did all this work, don't you think you would tell somebody that you were actually doing all this work here for a pool? So wanted to bring that back up. Okay, so thank you to the person that sent me this pic. I remember it being seen in the chat, and I'm like, what pic are you talking about? And then they sent it to me, and I'm like, oh, good catch. I'll just say this to the person that gave this to me. Freaking great catch looking at a picture, considering there's multitudes, and then happening to see that there's a pool in the background of this. Certain things I'll look around, but I never would have looked at that picture and was like, oh shit, there's a pool right there. Huh. Okay, so I want to go back to the video again. Video file. She said her brother. Well, again, what story is true? Right, Janie? Supposed to go into town with your brother, but you didn't. Like, when you guys think about all that stuff, right? Like, honestly, oops, why am I sitting there trying to put up a video? No, I'm supposed to stop screen, share screen. But when you guys think about all that stuff, doesn't it just sound like a pile of manure when you start thinking about, well, Janie didn't go into town, but she normally does. Jack and Lily are always supervised, so they don't go out the back door. But not only did they go out the back door, but they actually closed it, you know? So everything that Jack and Lily didn't do, they decided to do that day. Janie decides to not go into town. Like I said, so right then and there, sus? How would it not be sus, right? Everything that these children went against what they did. They never went outside unsupervised. They never went outside. Well, I mean, they contradict themselves because Malaya clearly said in one of the messages to me that whenever the kids go outside, I usually get a phone call from Janie, but I didn't that day, right? Now, I don't know where that part fits in about, you know, with the whole Malaya part and stuff like that, because there's certain things that she said that you're like going, well, why would she tell me that? Well, Janie, like, why did she, when somebody inserts something and you like go, oh, well, I mean, she could have just left it at, you know, that Janie calls when the kids, did it outside. But she specifically said that, but Janie didn't call that day, and I don't know why, right? So, like I said, make that make sense when you're trying to think of this case and, what's going on with it. Okay, so I'm going to play some more.
Physical evidence. The remaining question as to manner of death. So not necessarily cause of death, of which there's potentially hundreds, but there's really only 5 manners of death. And that determines how the investigation proceeds: accident, suicide, natural, homicide, or as it stands currently, undetermined. So without further physical evidence, I mean, police are operating on a theory, it sounds like, but without evidence as to manner of death, I think all options.
The static on the line isn't just interference. It's the sound of a narrative being vacuum sealed. It has been exactly 1 year since the names Lily and Jack Sullivan became synonymous with the kind of silence that screams. We're told to look at the map of Lansdowne, Nova Scotia, a place of dense woods and predictable rural rhythms, and accept that 2 children, 6 and 4, simply dissolved into the landscape. But in the corridors where people actually talk, the missing label feels like a polite placeholder for a much uglier reality. On May 2nd, 2025, the world was told that Lily and Jack wandered off, just like that. But here is the part the official records won't show you. Children don't just vanish in pairs. Criminologist Michael Arfield pointed out the obvious, though he had to frame it in the sterilized language of academia. He called dual child disappearances statistically rare. That's the polite way of saying it's almost unheard of. Think about the physics of a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. They have different energy levels, different walking speeds, and different psychological responses to fear. For both to disappear simultaneously without a single scream heard or a trailing piece of clothing caught on a briar implies a synchronization that nature rarely provides. What the gatekeepers call a rare event, an insider would call a tactical disappearance. Who benefits from the lost in the woods narrative when the math says they should have been found within 48 hours? You'll notice that after 365 days, the authorities still haven't classified them.
Okay, so 1 second here. We'll come back again. And this is what is, like I said, like the statistics of this is so rare that it's virtually unheard of. So, like I said, is it an insider tactical disappearance type of thing? I love this video because I think it epitomizes what most of us think, right? That there's family involvement from the property that have the answers about where Jack and Lily are. And again, the RCMP is saying this. You plug it into AI, it will tell you the same thing. We all know. When I was talking to that lady at work, I was saying to her, I said that for Canada, this is absolutely like a high profile, rare case that 2 children are missing. And it is. So when two children are missing and there's, say, no answers, there's lack of people collecting a 150K reward, all those things, the more the people know, the more that this case would be solved, that someone would come forward, because someone in the knowing would maybe not necessarily want the reward, but because their hearts, just like any other person that has a heart and truly cares, would come forward to say that, hey, I have something for you, right? Now, we don't know everything that they know, right? When it comes to maybe somebody has spoken to them, given them a piece of knowledge, but it's not enough knowledge to tie in that without bodies and without that evidence to back all that up. So like I said, there could be so much information. To me, this case rests on the evidence that they're just waiting for to break it open for the answers for Jack and Lily. And that's why this portrayal of deflection from themselves, that a mother goes into hiding, I don't care what anyone says, I'm going to use the word hiding, because that's exactly what it was to me. When somebody basically hides themselves from, in a sense, from the world and people coming at them, and kind of hides in a corner, and it becomes more about their self-preservation versus the search, the quest to find answers for Jack and Lily. And then you have the opposite spectrum of Daniel taking the bull by the horns and being like, I'm gonna be the advocate here for Jack and Lily, and I'm gonna let everybody know how much I do. And you guys know throughout watching this case that Daniel and Janie both have this poor me pity syndrome going on. That's how they portray themselves. It's not us putting words into their mouths. That's how they're projecting themselves. We've already heard about the stapler that came in. Like, why aren't you hanging posters? If like, you're searching the woods, but you don't believe that they're in the woods, So is it that they're in the woods somewhere, but you want people to be directed elsewhere? Hence the blanket, right? So the blanket in itself exactly says who's involved by it being planted. Now, of course, the likelihood that this blanket, that same blanket that's in a tree that was on a railing, is now in the garbage bin as well. And this projection of deflection towards Emily, towards Hayden, towards Malaya's side of the family, right? Again, that it's ridiculous to think that Malaya and Daniel would be like, you know what, Emily, Hayden, why don't you guys go plant a couple shirts in the tree, during the midst of when the RCMP is being called. Again, the whole punch in the bag. I told you guys, obviously, over and over again about Janie seeing Daniel putting in, but yet Malaya put in the garbage. And then people are like, well, two things could have happened. Yes, they could have. In the case of two missing children, when you add all this BS up together, and then they're trying to project right away from the property and themselves, of course you're going to start pointing here and pointing there, because you don't want them looking right there where chances are this all belongs, right? But that lady that I was talking to today as well, she goes, bet you any money there's going to be a movie made on this case. Absolutely. At some point, I'm sure there will be. This case for sure will go down in the books for everything. It's just so different. It's not a normal case at all. It's not normal, but I'm telling you right now, myself, that this case is not going to be this warped out theory case. It won't be. It will come back to the realization that even though it's unheard of to hear of two children simultaneously missing at the same time, it's going to be for the same reasons that a single child went missing. And that's because usually the parent involvement, that something happened to Jack and Lily, because to me, the probability is on the people on that property. And that's going to be the, in a sense, the basic answer. Everything's always to do with drugs, money, right? Revenge. There's a few different scenarios that are typically why these type of cases happen. Jealousy, all those different things. But in this case, we're talking about 2 children, age 4 and 6, that disappeared from a property. There's no consistencies in the story, right? And of course, you have a mother that took off, and you have the father. That's unheard of, to have a stepfather that goes on all these interviews and goes throughout Facebook and doing lives and true crime and stuff like that for this extended period of time, that you don't see that. I would love to know, besides the Summer Wells case, really, you just don't see that. So again, oddities, right? Why is this happening? Why? Because again, to me, it's about someone that wants to know everything that people are saying about them, right? Doesn't matter if we hit it with the bullseye or not. That person or those people want to know everything that they can, because they want to know, basically, like, are the police close? What information? And so they become like basically little siphoners of the information. So this is odd. It's just simply odd. So to me, absolutely, listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying here, right? This case, the only reason why this case hasn't been solved, they lack the evidence, and they don't have the bodies of Jack and Lily. I hate saying that, but just like Belinda is realistic as well, I'm very realistic, regardless of how much it hurts my heart to even think that that's the case. Hi, Colleen. How are you? I'm not sure when Justin's dog passed. I think the dog was that. No, hold on. Earl has a dog named Lily. Am I correct? And Justin had, I'm not really sure. I couldn't answer that one. Not just prison, but even morally, most people wouldn't have a lot of sympathy for anyone making. No, absolutely not. People know. Okay, anyone knows that follows true crime. You know what happens to people that do horrible stuff, pedos and that, to children. You know what happens to them. Yeah, no one's gonna live a good life, right? No one's gonna live a good life if you have anything to do with children. You're going to be one in your own separate little quad there. So you're saying D and M are responsible for everything? Could be logical. What I'm saying is that statistically, is that whenever there's children involvement, the young ones, not the teens so much, it's always the young children. The highest probability is either the family members, the mother and the father, whatever, stepdad, or someone very close to them. That is the statisticals of the truth. There's no taking away from that, because most cases you watch, Elijah Vu, Harmony Montgomery, right? All these cases, there's so many cases. And then you look to see what happened to them. Most times it's going to be a parent figure, a family member, or someone that is very close to these children. And it's not going to be a good outcome. Never is, right? There's so many cases. So that's why this case, to me, again, it's about the probability of who it is, right? These children did not go in the woods and get lost. These children might have been buried in the woods, but they certainly did not get lost in the woods. Not with all the searching, not with no sign of clothing, not with no dog scent that couldn't go past the driveway. There's no air scent of Jack and Lily in those trees or out. Like, you know what I mean? When they're going in there for the searches and that, and they have the air scent dogs, right? What does that tell you? What does that all mean to people? I think that's kind of one of those pretty obvious things. Daniel said, I don't believe they're in the woods. Chances are they're probably in the woods if you said that, Daniel. You know, Janie said she didn't believe that they were in the woods. Bottom line is nobody really believes that they're in the woods. Maybe that one searcher lady that I was shocked when she said that, to be honest with you. So you think a 4 to 6 year old, one that needs to be carried in the woods, the other one that hates bugs, and that they're just going to do everything off of what they would do normally. So not only would they open a back door and close it, Janie doesn't go into town. Daniel and Malaya don't even go over to Janie's house when the children, we all know that that's fucked up. We don't even have to tell ourselves that, because you know in your heart right now as a panicked mother or father that you would be racing to her door to be like, Mom, is Jack and Lily in there? Nope. Everything's been more like nonchalant, with these tears that are not strolling down their eyes. Right now, so you're taking the facts with the observance of this case and the inconsistencies and like I said, the perception of, Malaya taking off and Daniel pro-advocating for Jack and Lily until the end of the earth, end of time, being impaled can run faster than helicopters. Tell me when to stop the bullshit. Right? So the bottom line is when you look at the facts and then you pile the other stuff on top of that, I think that Mick Obvious is right there, to be honest with you. The most likely scenario is right in front of us. And basically what they're talking about, right? Same idea. When they said in that article about having the picture, I guarantee you they absolutely have the picture. They just need the evidence. Yeah. Janie said around December. Okay. Live period. Just before Christmas. So let's see here. So if way 6 months later, he was crying his eyes out for the dog, or maybe he knows what happened to Jack and Lily. You talking about Justin? This is what I believe on this one, based on the fact, and I do get enjoyment out of this. I don't care. Based on the fact that Uncle Elvin called you a conniving, and based on what Uncle Wayne says about you, you basically leech that lives in a bed, with your heater on or your whatever it was, siphoning the money from the government, living in your mama's trailer, I don't know. I don't think Wayne's pretty happy with you, destroying vehicles every freaking couple months and stuff like that. Yeah, basically called you a piece of shit as well. So what do you think the chances are that there's probably a lot more people in the family that go, Justin good, Daniel POS. That Justin's the good one and Daniel. Isn't it so nice to know that your uncles truly feel that way about you, Daniel? But the thing is that a shocker to us? Well, honestly, a little bit, yeah. Wasn't expecting those treats. But it was just to go in line with, to me, how he's proven himself. That he's conniving, he's a manipulator. Like I said, like a clear glass door type of thing. Not so getting them recorded in their natural, in a sense, moments of talking. Absolutely. Do you think that they would have said that had they known they were being recorded? I think that even Daniel's probably own dad thinks something's up. I think Justin knows that something's up. But they're family, right? They might have their thoughts, but I don't think most of them absolutely know the truth. But I believe that a lot of them absolutely have the same thoughts. But I think that most of his family are combining the two together, and some of them are more like, hey, look at Malaya, da-da-da-da-da. I think that that's more the pretense than what actually, is what they're thinking per se. Having an unrelated adult male in the home makes an event like this far more likely, statistically very sad. having an unrelated adult. Absolutely. In my opinion, Justin is involved in some way and no one's talking about him. Do you, Pinky? See, I don't think that Justin is involved. I don't. I think that, but I feel like Justin is not stupid. I think that Justin more so was crying, if anything, because I think he knows his brother. And I think he knows the situation in a sense, what's going on. And I think that Justin is very much probably thinking that he believes his own brother. That's my personal opinion of Justin. I've never put a lot of thought into him too much because everything I've heard about Justin is the opposite of what I've heard about Daniel. I concluded that sadly, if Jack and Lily were still alive and would not have looked so distraught on camera, she was already grieving. I concluded sadly that if Jack and Lily were still alive, and would have not looked so distraught on camera. Oh, you thought she looked distraught? She was grieving already. I got to read that again. If Jack and Lily were still alive. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying now. Yeah. Gotcha. Remember we had, so Alexa was on here, and I think a lot of us too. It's like, where's the tears? Daniel, where's the tears? Malaya, where's the tears? And then like Alexa was talking about like when somebody does that with their throat and it was more like a swallow, but the tears didn't come, that it seemed like we're supposed to come with it, but nothing came. Can you imagine? This blows still me away every time I say it. Can you imagine that your two children are missing and one of the things out of your mouth is, well, it's a sunny day today. I just hope that they're warm. I'm always blown away by that statement. And to me, that just goes along with all the weirdness of this case anyway. That's, like the Barry Morphew case, like Malaya's interview, I don't feel like I got this wrong at all, right? In a lot of ways, for sure. Because when I saw Malaya's interview, I was just as mad at her interview when I knew that Barry Morphew was fucking full of shit. And that has come to fruition. He just hasn't been, they're just waiting for the trial and whatever. Right? It's kind of like saying that OJ is innocent. Same thing, right? Everyone knows that OJ did something to, of course, his wife, Nicole, and he got off because of the whole dramatics and if the glove don't fit, acquit, blah, blah. And he's struggling to put the glove on. And, that was like a circus, but the same thing applies to this. When I heard it, I instantly was so angry at what I was watching. And that's how I know that I'm on the right track. Okay. He may have cared for the kids, plus his marriage was falling apart. He had gotten another girl pregnant, allegedly. He had a lot to cry about. Oh, I do recall back then there was something about that. I mean, isn't that Logan that mentioned about that anyway? Right? But I also remember something being said about Justin telling Malaya that Daniel was cheating on her as well. But I don't know the truth. Like, I don't have receipts for that. It's just hearsay and stuff. So I vaguely remember that point of things. Yeah, remember, don't forget, Justin's allowed to drive the ATV. Daniel, not supposed to. I guarantee you that all those articles didn't have it wrong. When Daniel said that he was the one driving 20 acres or whatever. I guarantee you. Because all the articles put that in their article. All of them. So I don't believe for 1 second that wasn't said, whether it was the truth by Daniel, right? Or whether they're changing up the truth. But that's how it came across. You know damn well that was said in the beginning by him. There's no way that every freaking article is going to have that wrong. It's just not going to happen. One article, couple, maybe two tops, but everyone's not going to have that wrong. So I call bullshit to that. I believe he said it. Now, whether they changed the story to fit it or Daniel was just embellishing his greatness, that I'm not sure of. I did a Google Earth map, and the pipeline is 160 meters uphill from the trailer, something like most 500 feet higher for an elevation. Janie said Jack wouldn't. I know right. She had to carry him up. It's like double talking. That's how I feel so much when they talk. It's double talking. So Janie goes out of her camper, sees Malaya, and says, what's up? And then Malaya says that the children have disappeared for 20 minutes. And Janie says, my first thoughts were to go up there in those woods. Daniel's version is he comes down, he sees his mom. His mom says, what's up? And he says that the children are missing, blah, blah, blah. Again, they can't get the story straight if their life depended on it. So, I can see, though, where things like certain pieces can get, misconstrued or missaid and stuff like that. But thing is, this is constant throughout every time that his mouth and Janie's mouth opens up. And then Malaya will contradict some things with what she said to them. And it's just like, what did Pinky say on that one? Did I miss that? Don't see it. Okay, Janie was boo-hoo. You know how I feel about Janie's crocodile tears and Daniel's crocodile non-tears and Malaya's crocodile non-tears. I have 11 aunts, uncles, and my dad's sibs. They loved us nieces and nephews so much. Absolutely. Normal. Justin must know what his brother. I think that's what it is, Tambourine. I think his brother, absolutely. And I think that's exactly why the uncles both said that. And to me, they're not the only ones thinking that, right? I mean, for public sake, but if they don't know they're being recorded, I guarantee you that Justin knows exactly how his brother rolls and what he does and has, his own thoughts. But family, right? You're going to protect them or throw them underneath the bus, especially if you don't know 100%, right? He can think it, but does he know 100%? Because then she said because of the children. Yeah. Okay. I know that you guys have said a lot. Hi, Drone Grid. The early days had so much information coming out so fast and everything is so slow now. Yeah. I'm trying to have hope for this young former couple from Nova Scotia, MND. Well, I think that hope's been fading for quite a while, but I mean, I get it. No one ever wants to think that the parents would do something to the children. Unfortunately, that's what happens in most of these cases all day long, and sadly. So again, there's a difference between what you feel is genuineness when someone gets up to a podium and talks. Go back to Sincere and Classic and look at those they were lucky it was during COVID days, as they got to hide behind their freaking masks, right? Never still found the children, but they were arrested for the murder of them. Finally, as they basically said, you know what? I was outside. I mean, I was just bringing, and then they just went out the gate, and then disappeared. No sign of them on the freaking cameras or nothing, right? No sign of them there. Very familiar to this case, and they stood there, lied their effing asses off, but yet they couldn't answer certain questions because you could see that they would bobble and they'd look at each other and stuff like that. Now, can't exactly tell you in this situation. All I know is that it's absolutely extremely sus times infinity. He never went back to that property. You think? I don't know. Okay, here, let me play some more. I'm just enjoying this interview because I think it's so totally in the scope of what most people think. Question, Sunny. Daniel's claiming that he is a year clean now. No rugs, right? Right, liar. He is. With such a traumatic situation with 2 kids missing, wouldn't that be the time you do drugs? No. You know how I see this? Okay. So you have Malaya telling Haley and Christine that Daniel was up all night or he was doing drugs, right? Now, to me, because of the, obviously what happened, and then the, having to call 911, that man would have straightened up his ass in fucking 2 New York seconds, 1 New York second flat. Probably would have hid the drugs from the bathroom. And whatever happened, if it was accidental, you would fucking probably set your ass straight very quick. Because remember, Daniel keeps avoiding, and he has kept getting closer about his timeline of when he didn't do drugs, and his time has progressed. All of a sudden you can tell that he's brought it, like on the DT show, when he's brought it as close as he can, but still saying that he didn't use before the children's disappearance. Well, then Malaya obviously calls him fucking out to other people, her sister, to Cheryl, to Haley. Well, Haley is the sister, right? And so if it was accidental and this was simply a cover up, again, you're going to clean your shit up in a New York second, because you don't want to attach the drugs. If it was, say, by drugs, like meaning that something happened to the children, they got into the drugs, or they were given or something to either get rid of them, or it was an accident, whichever. Like I said, to me, it always has made sense that Daniel would all of a sudden go down this straight line, because now everything's on you. All eyes are on you. You're going to be taking fucking, be a suspect. You're going to be taking piss tests and all that shit going on. So you would think, right? It's kind of like when people are in when their life is going good and then it really sucks, and then they go back to their drinking and stuff like that. I guarantee you, Daniel is trying to do everything, and same with Malaya, for baby Meadow, right? That's what this is about. A lot of it is baby Meadow is still the only child that we know is fine and dandy. It seems like all they cared about, even from leaving the property, the focus was on Meadow and not so much Jack and Lily. And that's what's been going on so much behind the scenes. It's all about the custody of Meadow, because that's the one thing that they share. And that's the one thing, to me, that, ties them together still. Jack and Lily, no. Jack and Lily, hyper kids, probably a lot of work. Absolutely. Living in a small trailer, got 3 children, one's a baby, typically, not always, but a lot of times, fathers, they love their kids so much more than the other 2 little pests, type of thing. My ex-husband was that way, right? Other children, get out of my face. His own, our son, apple of his eye, but that's how I see that one, Pinky, myself. Not sure about you guys, but that's how I see it. Oh yeah. Remember Haley said that Daniel was running around like and basically people implied that Daniel was running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and what Wade was saying, like something about like looking all yellowy and stuff. Damn sure, because he was doing drugs all night. But you could tell, right? You could tell, in my personal opinion, that yeah, once the case started, Daniel, he was on a road to, cleanliness and godliness, just doing anger management courses, doing everything, again, for the sake of Meadow. But that would be the perfect time to all of a sudden, stop the drugs and then start working, because you got a kid. You ain't going to get no custody of no children when you're sitting there doing drugs still and stuff like that. So do I believe he was all tweaked out? Probably, just like what they said on that particular day. Yeah. And I bet you he didn't touch it, or is probably maybe not touched it at all since, because of the fight for custody for Meadow and what he has to do in order to see his other two kids, should he get the chance ever. Hi, Belinda. How are you? Many arrests could lead to other things. Absolutely. Okay. So I'm just going to go back to playing a bit more now. Like I said, I love this one. I came across it. Oh, hey, Belinda, my sister. I was working hard while she was at the lake today. Kind of really didn't seem fair looking at those pictures as I went to go find this video again, because it was on her thing that I saw it. And the tree that she put up, the gem one, that would be my favorite as well. But I just didn't exactly like all those pictures of her basking in the sun. Yeah, I got issues with that. Okay. That's why I'm Belinda's favorite sister, or favorite daughter, because obviously I was working very hard today. And then I come home and do a live. And what was she doing? Basking on the freaking towel out there. I don't think Maleo, we're not expecting this to blow up. Oh, most times that they don't. Right, absolutely. I don't think anyone would have thought that it would have blown up like this. Tambourine says hugs to Belinda. Passing it along, Belinda. Ariel, if in my phrase, if only D was responsible, M would have thrown him underneath the bus. But not the other way around. He would cover for her, so both somehow. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Implosion coming. The heat is on. The heat is on. You guys know the song. The heat is on. That's what I thought you would say, right? It's not. I mean, it's not funny, but just kidding. All right. Love you, Belinda. Thank you for being here. Oh, where's daughter? Because I don't see her in chat. She's still at the lake there? Mm-hmm. Today it's 23 degrees right now and sunny. It was kind of overcast, but
This as a criminal investigation. Ask yourself, who is cashing out on that distinction? By keeping the file labeled as a missing persons case rather than a kidnapping or a homicide, the legal requirements for transparency shift. You don't have to release certain files. You don't have to name persons of interest because technically there's no crime to attach them to. It's a masterclass in PR optics. If you call it a crime, you admit there's a predator or a failure of protection. If you keep it a mystery, you keep the public's sympathy while shielding the investigation from the scrutiny of a defense attorney or a civil liberties group. Are we really supposed to buy the narrative that a year of nothingness doesn't equal foul play? Or is the lack of a criminal tag just a way to keep the insurance of public order intact? Despite the refusal to call this a crime, the RCMP Major Crime Unit is the one holding the leash.
Where am I? I'm right here. Like I didn't get the email, by the way, the drone grid, so I'm not sure because it's acrimingshame@gmail.com. So I don't see an email. It's not, it's a criming shame. It's acrimingshame. So let me refresh again. No, didn't get it. Not yet anyway. But usually emails come pretty fast. Right. And honestly, that's really the whole point of this again. Exactly what they're saying, right? I mean, they're using the Missing Persons Act to protect and do what they can do, then deeming it as a criminal case. Because then all of a sudden it falls into different categories of what they can do. So they're going to leave it as a missing persons, even though we all full well know, regardless, that blanket was planted. That makes this a criminal case, let alone Like, let's get real. But that's a thing. So they can use the Missing Persons Act, like it's been said for months and stuff now, right? For the intent of being able to gather more information still. And absolutely, that's what you would do in this situation when you don't have, the case or the evidence to pursue into it at this moment. It will come, just a matter of time. It's a matter of time, you know? There's going to be something that pops up or that was overlooked that they rechecked again. There's going to be something. Maybe somebody will come across Jack and Lily in the water, in the woods, right? They're definitely not going to be sitting on no reservation. They're not going to be sitting in someone's home in a dungeon, and Malaya discarded them, and Daniel knew nothing about it. And even though he's tried to portray this, not buying that whatsoever. Not myself anyway. You guys can have your own opinions on that, but I concur with this whole video. It's exactly what I think is happening, why they're doing the things they're doing. And this video I just love because it just really is saying those questions that we've been asking, are pretty much, in a sense, answering those questions that we've been, wanting to know for a long time. Exactly. It's, some of these cases, they'll come out of the blue, right? I mean, I was watching, there's a few times now lately, I've been watching, know about cases, and all of a sudden I see that they're back in the news again because something new came in, like Maya Maletti. I was like, I remember that case, the disappearing wife that the husband had nothing to do with, but it's just like, and then all of a sudden you see it back in the news again and you're like, hey, forgot about that case. Been about a year and a half or so from that case, maybe two, so always that hope that tomorrow or whatever it's going to come, and stuff like that for sure. Tambourine says, Shen, yep, gonna go way down there when they come for you, bad boys. Ariel says, let's see what happens on July. Right. I don't see Daniel pleading guilty. Right. That's like pigs flying. Not going to happen. That may also be a pathway to convictions. All I know is in the secondary case that they're saying, of course, is not related to Jack and Lily's, is that just know to expect a bunch of postponements, requests for, like I said, for it to be moved later, right? Stuff like this goes through all that battle of through the courts and stuff like that. The defense asks for this, prosecution usually wants to move it faster. Defense usually delays and, elongates it, type of thing, need more time, to look at things and didn't have enough time to look through all the files and blah, 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 blah. So expect that, okay? Because that's normal. Where did DM disappear to? I thought he professed to keeping the names of the kids out there. Kitchen getting warm too. Let's see, just have to keep going over everything again and again until we have answers. Well, like I said, I mean, we can keep talking about it all day long, right? But at the end of the day, it's still, right? We can, at the moment, really, like I said, if you stick to the basics of this case, I mean, I think that the answers are pretty clear, but RCMP has to bring us those. So until then, it's just about keeping Jack and Lily's story out there and keeping the awareness out there just so that they don't get forgotten in the pile. I don't think it will happen. This case is too rare for Canada for people to forget about this case. People of Nova Scotia, I feel for them, the communities that are around there that just want answers to this, that never in their wildest dreams did they expect a case like this, to be in Nova Scotia, let alone anywhere in Canada. On there. Hey, Shanann, on there. I'm not sure what happened to all your subs there on your channel. I seen that. I don't know what happened there when you took it down or whatever, and then brought it back up. Then all of a sudden you barely had any subs. So something obviously, did it get fixed? When I had seen it yesterday, I don't know that it did. I'm not sure how many subs you had originally, though, either. Yep, Sunny, they are not hidden on any reserve. I'm with you, Sunny. Okay, let me play. Who the hell is Mad Dog? Who's Mad Dog? Mad Dog is gonna. Oh, Mad Dog is gonna catch them all. Why not Dog the Bounty Hunter? I'd rather have him. I'm not sure who Mad Dog is. Is that an expression? I don't know. As parents, the first direction I would have had it with the car towards school sings high wanods. As a parent, the first direction I would have had it with the car towards the school makes sense. Sings hello to school day. Not sure I understood that sentence, to be honest with you. Natasha was held for years in her basement. So was Elizabeth Fritzl. Yeah, more type of rare cases, where thankfully, that was nice to see that one lady, that I think Eileen or Eilena or Elena Moore or whatever, that obviously I had a feeling when I was actually watching that case, it just seemed like somebody that literally walked away from her life or something. I didn't see it as foul play myself, but I am very glad to hear that, she was doing like a DoorDash or something. Obviously got severe issues going on, Okay. Oh, sorry. I had to use my mic. Sometimes it adds words. Oh, okay. I get it. I'm saying if I was the parent, I would have driven in the direction of the school first. Yeah, to be honest. But I mean, the school is, I don't know I'd have to look on the map, but I'd have to see what road you would kind of take from when you left there. Hey, Mama Angie. Okay, I'm gonna hit play again. Hi, McKiffin. They're pretty sure she's been found. Oh, really? Really? I wonder. Like I'm still not thinking foul play. Like I'm still thinking. Subs came back yesterday and now they're okay. YouTube is okay. Yeah. Never take them. I'd never shut, like, I know you can kind of like Facebook, right? You can take down your channel and hide it and then you can bring it back up and stuff like that. But I've never done it, so I don't really know what goes on with that stuff. I think I would probably be afraid to. Yeah, the story is very strange. I'm not even sure what happened. Okay, I'll play some more.
Convenient timing, wouldn't you say? If there's no evidence of a crime, why is the most elite, high-resource unit in the province burning through their budget on a lost child case? This is the money trail logic in its purest form. You don't send the heavy hitters for a search and rescue mission that's gone cold. You send them when you're looking for a body or a suspect you can't prove exists. The optics are clear. They want the public to feel like the bit of what they already know but can't legally say. They are leading an investigation into a void, which in the world of statecraft usually means they are waiting for a mistake, not a miracle. Then there's the matter of the unconfirmed evidence. Rumors swirled early on about a recovered blanket and a single boot print. The authorities have played a very calculated move here, refusing to confirm or deny the specifics. Why? Because in a town like Lansdowne, physical evidence is a currency. If that blanket was clean, it suggests the children were placed there. If it was weathered, it supports the lost theory. By keeping the details in the shadows, the police maintain total control over the narrative. What the Whisper Network is asking is simple. Whose boot was it? Was it a child size or was it a heavy adult lug sole? If it was the latter, the no foul play theory starts to look less like an assessment and more like a cover up. They're sitting on these items not because they're clues, but because they're leverage. We are currently expected to believe that foul play is not suspected. It's a phrase that acts as a sedative for the public. But let's look at the darker interpretation. If you rule out foul play without finding the bodies, you are essentially blaming the terrain or the children themselves. It's a play for the act of God defense. If there's no villain, there's no one to punish, and the institutional pressure to solve the case evaporates. But how does a 4-year-old bypass thermal imaging, scent dogs, and 1,000 volunteers? The no foul play stance is a strategic fortress. It protects the authorities from the accusation that a predator is roaming Nova Scotia, which would be a PR disaster for the region's image as a safe, rural haven. Arfield stressed that investigators still cannot determine the manner of death, which is a fascinating choice of words for a case where no bodies have been found. You see the slip up there? You can't determine the manner of death if you haven't admitted they are dead, unless the insiders have already moved past the hope of a rescue. The statecraft here is about managing expectations. They aren't looking for Lily and Jack anymore. They're looking for a cause. They're looking for a way to close the ledger. Whether it's exposure or accident, the goal is to find a label that doesn't require a trial. Over 1,000 tips have flooded the RCMP. To the public, this looks like a community coming together. To an investigator, this is a denial of service attack on their time. Who is cashing out on the chaos? Every psychic vision and sighting in a different province consumes man-hours and fuel. It's the perfect smokescreen. If you wanted to hide a real clue, you'd bury it under 1,000 false ones. The authorities complain about the resources being consumed, but this exhaustion serves a purpose. It provides a ready-made excuse for why the trail went cold. We were too busy chasing ghosts to find the bodies, they'll say, when the file finally moves to the cold case drawer. The experts are now suggesting that releasing selective holdback information might help. This is the ultimate reveal structure. They've been holding on to a secret, a piece of the puzzle that only the
There for a minute. I know we can only see little Jackie boy, and these are just heartbreaking when I do see this. You know, sorry, the video came on and I was just like, just tears at your heart, but that's how I feel like about this case. And that's why I stick to the beginning and what we're seeing here, is because it gets convoluted with people trying to misdirect. Like, I don't care. Like I said, when I think about it, Brandon's information, sorry, it doesn't make sense. Not in the way that it's being contrived, that 2 shirts are in a tree. We didn't hear nothing about it. I think he's got the wrong people. If you did see someone, I don't know. I'm not buying that there was 2 trees in the shirt in the morning and then a blanket got placed there in the afternoon and stuff like that. Not while all these drones and searches and all that stuff going on. I don't believe that the children are in the woods alive or that they entered the woods alive and stuff like that. But that's kind of like where we're at, right? It just gets, the more time goes on, the more of a mess, in a sense, it becomes. And then the RCMP get all these freaking emails and everyone messaging them over freaking everything. And then, right, it gets convoluted because they have to look into certain things, of course, that they get. And it's just, that's where we're at. But I refuse to follow the path of like that outside stuff that doesn't matter about the case. Because again, people make sock accounts, they make different accounts, they sit there and point fingers and blah, 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 blah. They try to lead you astray, and family members from one side and from the other side and stuff like that, And again, I just like to stick to what I'm seeing, what is the statistics of a case and what we're seeing, the perception of what Malay is doing, what Daniel's doing, and all the inconsistencies of a timeline and stuff like that. But again, up to RCMP. It's just so heartbreaking that here we get to see always these little videos of Jack and Lily who should be playing outside, well, maybe not right now. They'd probably be in bed, but But you know what I mean? It's so hard to look at these children that were there one moment and then we're coming up to 14 months. Real sad. Share cares. Cheryl. Again, Cheryl's the one that has sent me these beautiful pens, and I got the ones for Charmaine and her stickers, that she's sent as well. Again, for anyone of Jack and Lily. Okay, you guys see on my microphone here, Jack and Lily. That's what the case is about. And let's see here. Oh, and the drone grid. I got it. Thank you. I'll have to read what you said in a moment because I didn't have quite enough time. And yeah. So, like I said, I love this video because I think it just really epitomizes, all the things that we think about. Right? Point here, point there, point there, point there. But at the end of the day, it's up to RCMP to bring justice for Jack and Lily. I'm still subscribed, just checked. I have zero faith in the RCMP personally, but would love to be. I think they'll prove you wrong, okay? Maybe there was some things, I'm sure, like with a lot of cases, Sebastian Rogers for one. I just don't understand at the start of a case, and this should be freaking law, that when children underneath a certain age go missing, that it should be mandatory that it's deemed as a crime scene and then lowered, so that you don't have people all over the property going into the trailers, getting, mucking up what could potentially be a crime scene. And I don't understand it. They did the same thing with Sebastian Rogers' case. Same thing. When they realized, oops, we couldn't find him. Then all of a sudden it was like, oh, too late. Everyone's been roaming through the house. There's fingerprints everywhere and everything gets destroyed, right? Compromised. And to me, the same thing happened here. It's like there's people all around, people going in and out of the trailer and blah, 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 blah. I just don't understand that. Like, at what point will they learn that, and even one of my FBI agent friends, right, from United States, same thing. She said the exact same thing. And I agree with that. Absolutely. It should be deemed as a crime when 2 children go missing, especially for the statistics alone. I missed a bit. Who said determine the manner of death? I don't know. Someone in the video, you mean? My son is the same age as Jack, and it's so difficult at times. This is so heartbreaking. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's where we just can't understand this at all. We can't understand that if the people on the property are responsible, how something could be done, even if it was an accident, and a cover up for it and stuff like that. Anyone that has children, right? I mean, they clearly have claimed, in a sense, neglect regardless, letting 2 children out and not having, say, a lock on that back door, a piece of wood so that they couldn't go out. Irresponsible. Sorry. Lying in bed while your 2 children are awake. This I'm sure, is a very normal case. These children, they didn't go to school because of Pro D Day on the Wednesday. Thursday get called in because Lily has a cough. That Malaya that night does not go into the room. Cindy asks her, well, did you check on the kids? Malaya didn't check on the kids, but I'm still always curious about that 8:28 phone call, to Cindy. That morning. Remember, there's still a lot of things that are redacted in those documents that, will have importance, obviously, stuff that they don't want to give us, right? They probably didn't want to give us shit, to be honest with you, because they don't like stuff. They just want to be able to keep the case as close to the vest as possible without giving, too much information. And social media is a great thing, but yet by the same token, it's a bad thing for them as well. So I do understand that, right? And I understand that they get flooded with a bunch of shit, like, no offense to the psychic readers out there and shit like that. But honestly, they're going to toss pretty much that in the garbage. Okay. They're not going to sit there and go off because some psychic reader, card reader said something. They want facts. They want people that have the information, that, of something, of someone that knows something, or somebody that might happen to come across Jack and Lily. And I do not believe for one second that these children are alive at all. It would be a hope and a miracle and a prayer if that was ever the case. But when you have your own children, I'm sorry, but like me, I get angry. I get so angry because it's our responsibility, regardless, to take care of our children, to raise them, to bring them up, to make sure that they're cared for, loved, and stuff like that. Not to sit there and lie in bed while your kids are outside, because Malaya had already said that whenever the kids get outside, Janie normally calls. But Daniel said that the kids never do that, right? Just more rubbish, more inconsistencies. Such a tiny, weak looking little boy, poor Jack. But, just the poor children at all, anyone with the case on there, and like I said the other day, I don't give a shit. Like, for me, as long as we care about Jack and Lily first and foremost, I don't care if someone's on Malaya's side or Daniel's side or deems it like that. I don't give a shit about either. What I care about is Jack and Lily, that they deserve the answers for this case, so again, it would be a pretty lopsided thing if, everyone just said, oh yeah, I 100% agree with Malaya, or 100% agree with Daniel, and da 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 da. No, as long as Jack and Lily are the main focus of why we're doing this, that's what matters to me, because that's what it's all about. No justice, no peace, no crooked police. Got your pom poms out there, Cheryl. My issue is the anger for asking simple questions about. Well, that's my anger as well. I mean, honestly, we all know that no answers, or nothing had to be given. But I mean, no one forced Daniel to go to interviews or social media and stuff like that. Just like no one forced Malaya to speak to me that day or whatever, right? But it's about simple questions. And those simple questions always turn into 5 questions. It's never just easy. Like I said, this whole case, no matter what portion of it you talk about, it's so convoluted with shit. And that's why I said you just stick to the basics. Look, Occam's razor, people. We'll always talk about that. Occam's razor. People telling the truth don't get mad when you're asking clarify. No, they don't. My thing is this, is that as much as family members can get pissy at true crime and shit like that, in my heart, I'm sorry. Anyone that's talking about my children or child that's missing, thank you. Thank you for putting my children's lips to your, out there for other people to become aware of a case. I know that there's content creators that we, nobody, like I said, right? I get that it's hard. Because always the impact of cases like this instantly, it doesn't really matter what case, but the high profile case, anyone that's part of around that family member is a sus right away. The internet will flood that the dad did something, the mother did something, and whatever. A lot of cases, sometimes it's very true based on the case that's happening. And in this case, it's likely that a family member, somebody that knows Jack and Lily or close to them, has done something to them. But that's just obvious that that's typically what's going to happen here. Now, does it mean that it absolutely is? Absolutely not. We don't know. But the actions speak louder than the words. Well, both in this case, the actions and the words suck, to be honest with you. Occam's razor is the most likely. But that's just not because I say it, obviously. You know that. Hi, Cindy B. Hey, Shy. Ariel, this is a good report. Which network? This one right here. We'll come back to it again. Sorry, I'm on this one here. You know what? I'll drop the link here for this particular episode for anyone that, wants to watch it again. It is, I know we're almost done it, so maybe I'll just play it out. Why is my thing, 1 second. My thing keeps wanting, oh, there we go. This is Criminal Signal 2.69. So Nova Scotia. So I mean, it has, I think, Angela in it. So it must be like CBC. I'm thinking. So I'm pretty sure that that's Angela talking, right? Is it Angela? Or is it, you guys, is it Angela talking, do you think? Or is it Come on, it's on the tip of my tongue. Angela Alley, right? Okay, but anyways, I'll drop the link here for this. Now, I still know that we need to get into, what we think, like location. That was the title on the thing. But I was going to play it after we kind of like went through this start stuff here. So let me play
The
it.
perpetrator or a key witness would know, and now they're considering selling it to the public to jumpstart the heart of the case. Why now? Because the anniversary is a deadline. In the world of high stakes investigations, you don't hold back info to protect the case. You hold it back to protect the prosecution. If they're willing to leak it now, it means they've realized they'll never get to a courtroom without a Hail Mary. Search operations remain critical, we're told. But a search after a year isn't a rescue, it's an archaeological dig. They're looking for additional physical evidence to reshape the investigation. Translate that from police speak. They need a reason to change their minds about the no foul play theory. They're waiting for a piece of bone or a scrap of fabric to give them the political cover to pivot. Without a physical find, they're stuck in a narrative of their own making, unable to move forward and unwilling to look back at what they might have missed in those first golden hours. The 1 year anniversary came and went with a flurry of candles and social media posts, but the breakthrough was a no show. The takeaway is chilling. 2 children vanished, and the system has successfully managed the silence. The extraordinary nature of the disappearance has been normalized. The lack of evidence has been turned into a shield. The public speculation has been harnessed to muddy the waters. And as the searches continue, they serve as a visual reminder that something is being done, even if that something is just moving dirt from one side of the woods to the other. Who is cashing out? Maybe it's the peace of mind of a community that doesn't want to believe a monster lives next door. Maybe it's a legal system that found a way to avoid a messy, evidence free trial. But as the Whisper Network knows, the woods in Lansdowne aren't big enough to hide 2 children for a year, not unless someone, somewhere, is helping the trees keep their secrets. Convenient timing, wouldn't you say? But as the Whisper Network knows, the woods
Kind of like that when she says like about the woods keeping the secret. I think so. I think so. When did MBM speak to Sunny? I must have missed that. It was in Messenger. I can't remember now. I'd have to go back and look at the date. To be honest with you, I could probably do that in a few minutes. Anyways, it was, I don't know. It was when I was doing a live with Belinda and Kent, and it was somewhere around a donation thing. I just remember that's kind of what, like, there was a bunch of, drama shit going on around it and stuff like that. And then Cheryl had said, Malaya's messaging you. And that was while I was on the live. And so some people got pissed off because it's like I left Belinda high and dry and shit, but obviously I told Belinda, like, look, talking to Malaya, I'll be back type of thing, but anyways, I'd have to go back and look at the date, to be honest with you. I have a family member who lives near the area who hunt, like, oh, my bad. Sorry, I gotta do this. Sorry. Thank you, Ariel. I know I showed it, but I just wanted to thank you. Make sure I got that in there. Okay. So thank you so much for that super sticker. Absolutely. 100%, 100,000%. To me, it's about Jack and Lily. I would do this for no other reason. About cases, any case that I follow. But it's pretty hard on the heart when it's children. It's hard on the heart for any case. Okay, obviously we know this, but children that are innocent, right? We're almost at 14 months. Sebastian Rogers. We're at pretty much 2.5 years for Sebastian Rogers. Crazy to think it. It feels like almost yesterday. Same with Jack and Lily. Doesn't feel like it's been 14 months coming up. Children are just so innocent. I could never say that enough. They don't deserve anything but love, and they should be treated like the gifts that they are. They're just innocent, especially with children, right? It's just, I always remember my son What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? You know, you see these videos of Jack and Lily just playing, being kids, just being kids. Little did, little did some people know, a lot of people know that all of a sudden they just vanished without a trace. But I don't think that they've vanished without a trace forever. I think answers will come for Jack and Lily. Oh, I guess when I put it in there, all three of my um, things pop up. Uh, I don't believe that they wandered off. I believe that they never made it home that Thursday. So you don't think that they actually made it home on Thursday, Corbin? So they waited for Friday to report that they were missing. Well, the thing is, bottom line is, um, all we know, unless there's somebody that's in the know now of it, all we know is that what it was, it 225 time or whatever it was at the Dollarama. They're not going to take Janie's word for it, Daniel's word for it, Malaya's word for it, unless they had proof of a picture that those children were still alive, or maybe had talked, even Cindy, right? If there's no proof, then they have to take the last time that they were actually seen, right? And then the only time after that, of course, is 10:01. In my opinion, all three that live on the property are responsible for those children going missing. I don't necessarily say that Janie is responsible myself, but I think that all three people know what happened to Jack and Lily. I don't think that there could be one person only knowing without the others. It just doesn't seem probable, especially when you're in a rural area. Any noise, you would be waking up. I just don't see how that would be possible, one without the other. And that was always how it was from the start. When I was like, Malaya's actions are, her freaking interview was strange as shit. And then Daniel is all of a sudden the one searching for the children, and then you don't hear from Malaya, and you try to give the benefit of the doubt, but Malaya's actions versus Daniel's actions, at first when you're kind of just watching it, you're like, okay, so he has no problem going to the news reporters and talking, but then as time goes on, you're like, then you just start not believing it because the inconsistencies come out, and you're like, why is a stepfather fighting so hard for two children that aren't his, and making it seem like it's to the end of the earth until the end of time? And after time, you just see it as another manipulation. And then start seeing the true colors, come out in a sense. And yeah, so it's one of those things to me. Again, actions, words, statistics, perception. It's certainly not putting any of them in a good light, especially Daniel and Janie, since they've been the talkative the most publicly. It's like having them as the poor victims instead of Jack and Lily. Nope, not in my world, not in mine lifetime. They ain't the victims. Jack and Lily are the victims. I wish Fifth Estate would do an episode on this case. Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't think they are low IQ. They both are very smart. I don't believe that they wandered off. Nope. Not even an ounce of me feels like that at all. After siphoning through the case for this long, but that was really one of the most unlikely. What I felt was the most unlikely probably back then was the fact that they were abducted. That somehow some pedo drives by on a day that they're supposed to be in school, but somehow knows that they're not in school and stuff like that. And that's where the whole narrative, kind of came about, that, Darren with his, that Patty told him that Malaya said that she had a plan, like that part of it, that whole, like kind of like with the whole Brandon thing, right? That Emily and Hayden were there in the midst of when the RCMP is called, go plant 2 shirts. It's just another narrative about Malaya taking these children and hiding them off somewhere. And that part to me is just absurd. Not to say that that's the least probable, but it was unlikely, because if there was no reason for Malaya to do that at all, let alone carry it on, if she even thought to do something like that and to keep carrying it on, there's no way that these 2 children are out there, to me, alive, and that somebody is going to hide them for all this time, and that nobody's going to talk, and that somehow they're going to be like pop like a miracle, just out of somebody's house one day. That's not the likelihood of what's going to happen. Again, statistics, it's so low on the totem pole that like, even when you put it into AI, most likely scenarios that somehow they got missed in the woods. Second one, family involvement. It doesn't even pop up with, because I ask it to stick to facts, not fiction. Yeah. Right. You just want the facts being put in there, not the crap that's been said by rumors and stuff like that. I still find AI pretty fun for that stuff. I think it's just like having, a person that doesn't talk back, that just feeds you information, but you have to, when you see that it's inaccurate about something, obviously you ask it. I know, Muddy the Waters. As soon as I heard that, I was like, Daniel, Muddy the Waters? Huh.
Thank you. Curious what your thoughts are on why Brandon is telling the story he is.
Let's see, 1 second. I see you, Shanann, on that one. I am going to scroll down. Hi, Attica. How are you? Hi, Angelina. How are you? Just exploring and learning everything. They deserve better. Yeah, like so I said, we're just going to get into that right quick here, about, AI. So someone sent me, actually, that appreciates the AI. Charmaine, it's not you, obviously. Somebody that sent me, and they were inputting a lot more details about the stuff that's kind of been said, right? About, say, Brad Wong, about the vehicle and Justin stuff, things that have been said, say, like in the documents, and putting it in there. And that's what I'm going to read in a second here. What, kind of like what AI is taking away from the information. Remember, the information that was inputted. And that's all I do, right? Like I said, AI has definitely its uses, and it's like having another brain, and then it's like, input, and then output. Let's say they are telling the truth and it's a crime of opportunity. That leaves a very small window for abduction. If absolutely, there's a reason why they told Janie that they didn't believe her timeline. There's a reason why they told Daniel they didn't believe that, because with no scent from the property, all those things, they're not going to believe that in a 20-minute, 30-minute window that these kids were not being able to be found, searched, found by drones, found by anybody, not a piece of clothing, nothing. It's not likely, and it's not. And then really, find a blanket, the same blanket that's in the garbage from the home. And then Daniel put 2 + 2 together, can't forget that. Curious what your thoughts are on why Brandon is telling the story he is. As I'll leave it with Brandon, either I feel like I don't know, it's so strange. It's like so strange, but in my head, I've just kind of determined it as mistaken identity of truly who might have been there looking. We haven't heard shit all about any shirts at any point. Nothing about 2 shirts in a tree, but somehow, so I can understand if it's plausible that the blanket could have ended up there at a later time than in the morning. That's plausible, at least. But I can't see that over the scanner radio that we've heard shit all about it all. And then to think that Hayden and Emily, and that's a very new relationship at that point, that happened like literally a month, that Emily's going to go, yeah, you know what? Let's just go put a couple shirts in the freaking trees, and help Malaya out and go, you know what? Let's all be part of this big web. And then people are going to pass polygraph tests. Like, a lot of these people are going to pass. Okay. They're stumped. They're stumped is what they are looking for again. So I don't know how to answer that because I don't know him. Whereas like, if you're close to me and I know you and I know who you are and I know that you're telling the truth to me and stuff like that, then of course that will hold more credibility. I don't know this guy worth shit. And I just don't I don't believe that who he's saying he saw. Alvin's denying it, I mean, I get people will be like, well, of course he's going to deny it. Well, he also called his, nephew there a piece of shit, like basically conniving, blah, 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 blah. But I just don't see it because if Alvin's part of this, I can't see everyone in the freaking family sitting there doing this big cover up of Jack and Lily. It doesn't make sense in any case out there. Yes, there's cases where family covers up, but this would be ridiculous because even in those cases, somebody always tells. Somebody's always going to tell. So with him, I'm putting him off to the side as I'm going with the things in the documents and what we're seeing the most, what Daniel's saying, what Malaya's saying, what the family members are saying, not so much what outsiders are saying, not even what Anita a little bit, there has to be some truth in there, but mostly I take her shit with a grain of salt as well. But I'm just not buying those people that he saw. Again, I don't know how other people feel, but that's my thoughts on it. It doesn't make sense in my world, not of true crime. Chelsea, it would have to be someone known to them for them to silently leave. There ain't no way. Okay, you guys all know freaking Daniel's theory, his latest one, okay? Again, one of the most ridiculous things I think I've heard, that someone could literally watch the property, know that they were called in sick, okay? The only thing there that would be plausible, honestly, is if a family member knew that, right? That they were home that day and that they were going to be outside or that they came into the property. Again, it goes to the low percentage, but his thing is that some sex traffickers or whatever, trafficking for kids, were stalking the property in this rural area, and stuff like that. Ain't gonna happen. It was so ridiculous. So you went on from pointing to Malaya to now, oh, well, they didn't do anything to her over there, so let's just keep pointing everywhere, but at myself type of idea. And that's just the bottom line of it. Taking reality versus fiction. Kimberly, I wasn't there. I have no idea. I don't think that they wandered off. I don't believe that they were abducted either. I don't believe that they were abducted at all. I think that it's very clear that the RCMP keep telling us over and over again, even after this time, that they've already told us that they don't believe that the children are alive. He's like, you know how I feel about that, but even after all this time, they're still saying the same thing. Why? Because there's nothing to prove it. How about that, right? Like, you don't think that if Jack and Lily, well, it's just ridiculous to think that Jack and Lily wandered down a road, weren't seen, threw up a blanket, ADT, threw up a blanket in the air, or some bird happened to freaking come by and take it out of like Lily's hand and then lollygag with it and just, oh, let me just throw it up into a tree. Okay. That blanket is clearly planted. I believe Daniel when he says it was planted that the RCMP told him that. But I believe that the RCMP aren't stupid and they were looking for a reaction. He was called in after that fact of that when the evidence came back, the whatever you want to call it, forensics came back, right? Who did they call in? Hey, Daniel, let's talk about that morning. Let's talk about that. That's who had the opportunity really to do that. Honestly. But again, the fairy tales, keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The more he talks, the more we learn that of stuff that's inconsistent and things that don't make sense. I'll never forget on DT's when DT had no clue because he didn't know the case good enough. He had no clue that that fence that Daniel said was made was not made on May 2nd. Daniel said it was all done by that point. Pictures to prove it wasn't, obviously, right? Because, of course, you got the helicopters and everybody out there, drones taking pictures of the property. And then DT's like, well, how do you think that they got, like out of the gate? And over, like, did they go over, do you think? And and then Daniel's like, DT, I'm not really sure, like, well, there's no fucking gate there. Okay, Daniel. Okay, DT, there was no effing gate. All they had to do was walk around the play set and go, oh, look at that, freedom. Okay, but yet they're sitting there talking about the gate, right? You don't know that your darn old gate isn't done and you're talking about, but DT, he doesn't have no fucking clue. But Daniel would have had a clue about the gate, but Daniel said that the fence was done. There's still no gate there. It's not like there's a gate that closes it. Whenever you saw Janie's video or interview there, again, was there a gate there? No, it wasn't. It's just open right there. So I'm just like going, are you serious? You're literally talking about how they got out of a gate? Because that little piece of shit brown one behind it, that ain't no gate. That's not me. The kids obviously know that all they need to go around is a play set there. And then Janie, right, she says, when that she heard the kids that morning and she goes, and I know that if they would have whatever, I would have heard Jackie boy, come on, Jackie boy, come on, Jackie boy. So you're saying that the children then vanished right in front of your trailer within that small time window that you're talking about, and that your dog didn't bark, that you didn't hear a vehicle, but you're claiming that Malaya somehow had her family members, come magically take these children on a magic carpet ride somewhere that nobody heard and everything. That's when it's bullshit. And that's why the RCMP, in my eyes, absolutely know that that's bullshit. It's just not going to happen, right? She says that she didn't say about hushing. Now listen to Darren. Right now he's saying, well, Janie thought it was Malaya that was outside hushing the kids. But obviously, I think it was during that time window that somebody that Malaya knew came and got the children. Somebody came and got the children and said, come on, Jack and Lily, let's get out of here. Oh, I'm sorry, but they were playing on a swing set that you could hear their voices, hear them playing. Malaya and Daniel, whose window's over there, they don't hear the door. They don't hear Jack and Lily playing, even though, like I said, the up and down and sleeping and their time frame, it sucks. It sucks. And then that the RCMP don't believe that, right? I mean, that's my thoughts on it for sure. The timeline, just the RCMP saying to Janie that we don't believe you. I think that's pretty much enough, let alone saying that to Daniel as well, but again, if they want to portray something different, then, so be it. At my end of the day, all I want is justice for Jack and Lily. Doesn't matter who it is. It's just justice for Jack and Lily, and may the truth come out, and the people that have responsibility for Jack and Lily's disappearance may be punished, put through hell, put through every piece of excruciating pain I can probably think of in my head anytime you hurt children or do something to children. They don't believe that they're in the woods. Obviously, they called the search off, and they don't believe that they were abducted. So where does that leave you? Honestly, where does that leave you? Right? Chelsea says, the drone kid said, okay, it says, would indicate that they were watching to see such a small window of opportunity, and that the young children would simply be okay without leaving, saying goodbye to the parents. Like I said, everything that the kids did that day in Janie, apparently they just never did. So that right there, like I said, I'm just here to call a spade on that bullshit. That all didn't happen. That's like Sebastian's case. That all didn't happen and align that perfectly. That they go out, right? That they never do this, but they go out. Janie doesn't go into town, all that crap. Again, whatever the truth is, from their lips to God's ears, from what they know, or stuff like that. Again, Jack and Lily, that's all I care about. Just answers. They deserve it. Drone Grid, I agree. Children who are on the spectrum wouldn't be able to hide. Children who are typically on the spectrum usually geared towards water. But one thing that bugs me in the documents, and I'm sure that this might have been misconstrued in the documents, but it always stood out that Malaya said to Cindy, you know, I told you they were autistic, or I think that was the sentence. Like, I told you I told you that they had autism, as if to go, you know, I mean, they got autism, you know, bouncy, bouncy, go down the road and shit like that. Children that are on the autistic spectrum, obviously they usually gear towards water, but let's get real. 2 children, 4 and 6. Okay. They ain't walking at no fast pace. They ain't going to be getting too far in this 20-minute window, and the 20-minute window for Malaya and Daniel start just after 8:30, right? Malaya says she sees Lily at 8:20, right? Daniel says he sees her multiple times. Malaya makes a phone call to her mother. Janie's on the phone talking to her brother at 8:48. You know, all this shit's going on. Everyone's back to sleep, passing out. And I asked Daniel, what about the window? Because every interview you say it was only about 20 minutes. That's the time frame you guys are using. Put you 8:50, 9 o'clock best. We're talking about 9:40. Like I said, I thought at first they were just bullshitting because they didn't want to look bad as parents that 2 children go missing. So they're trying, you know, obviously for CPS and people that are watching, they're trying to, you know, save their egos and stuff like that. Like, to, you know, but then I asked him, like, Daniel, what happened to that hour? 8:40 to 9:40. You know what his answer was? He wasn't sure. He wasn't sure, right? Because he doesn't have an answer because he probably didn't know how to fill the gap when I asked him on that one at that moment. But he wasn't sure. Well, I don't know. Malay said you were sleeping all night. But she also told Christine and Haley that he was doing drugs all night. You know, and that she went into the bathroom and he was doing drugs. But yet she said in the statement that he was sleeping all night, like right until 9:40. Right? So, again, that's BS, obviously. I still wonder what the COP found in their fire. Oh, what, you know, when they asked about the fireplace? Don't know. There would have been a trace. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why the RCMP, you know, stopped the search. It's a typical thing for cases that after about a week, the resources, because then the chances of finding these children alive, right, they cut back. So at this point, the only way that they'll do a search for Jack and Lily is if they have information that literally that somebody, you know, gives them a good reason to go check out those areas. That's the only reason, right? You got, of course, you know, please bring me home and people searching. A good thing. Always a good thing that people are still trying to find Jack and Lily, right? So anyone that joins the searches and stuff like that or has searches for Jack and Lily, you know, well, you know, bless most of those people, you know. So I'm a little crazy, but whatever. But bless most of those people that do stuff like that, right? Because there's so many cases where family members of missing that have no answers. You know, their families come together on the weekends to keep searching and searching. Think about Karina McClurkin's case in Indiana, right? Her grandmother, 5 years, 5.5 years, basically. All she wanted was answers. Where was her granddaughter? Where was Karina McClurkin? Finally, 5.5 years, 6 years later, just before the Delphi case, basically, it's weird how that happened, to be honest with you. I mean, 2 cases so close to each other, like literally in the proximity of distance. And finally, Karina's grandmother, somebody actually gave up the answers, and Karina's remains were brought to rest, right? A grandmother, 5 years, all the time, always trying to keep awareness, looking for her granddaughter. Those type of stories absolutely break my heart. I don't want to see anyone that's not involved ever go through that type of pain of not knowing. It's so, so, so sad just to even realize that people wake up with such an emptiness in their heart like that, full of pain, full of questions. and yet no answers, only guessing, speculation, stuff like that. I'll come back to yours in a second. Chelsea, maybe somebody came to visit, noticed everyone was asleep, and took the opportunity. The only thing I can think of. Yeah, that's just to me like, in the like out in the ozone layer thing to me. Not saying it's fact, just right. Yeah, and I can't see that as a normal scenario. That's kind of like a very highly unlikely. So I get it because you want to look at everything you can think of, no matter how sometimes ridiculous it might seem. But then you look at what they're doing around it of the case and look at their timelines and stuff like that. And for a dog not to hear a vehicle come up, and then they try saying, well, like, we're not going to hear the vehicle if it's at the end of the drive. Fuck off with that shit. Okay. Janie, you know that you can hear everything you said, right? You damn right know if you're going to hear a vehicle at the end of the drive and two kids come out. Not only those two kids come out, drone, but they're playing on swings. Like she hears them at the swing set, right? Let alone about the hearing Malaya hush them and shit like that, right? So no two kids that someone's going to take is, you know what, little kitties, let's just go on the play set before we leave. Let's make a bunch of noise. Not going to happen, right? So these stories just don't match. So that, to me, doesn't make sense. Cindy B says, I still think Brandon is very much coached by what, and that's why he's changed his stories. When people are inconsistent with their stories, I just throw it to the dirt pile, to be honest with you, and unless it ever makes sense at some point. No offense, Brandon. I don't know where you shit if you're even watching this, but I'm sorry. What you're saying doesn't make sense. And then when you have the inconsistencies, right? Like, so then you must have pictures of these two shirts, right? But you're asking in your post, well, where's the picture publicly of the shirts? Well, I don't know. If you've seen them, you would take a picture of two shirts because that's why you're over there looking for the two children that are missing. And someone weirdly comes out of a bush and all of a sudden there's two shirts there, no blanket, but two shirts. Where's the picture? Where's the picture publicly that you're asking about? Because you must have one, right? I mean, I can't see why, if someone is so invested in the case and has some serious answers, why they would come to the internet to disclose information that you would want to keep your mouth shut about. That I don't understand, right? I mean, if people want to talk and give the information, you don't think we're going to sit up and listen? Absolutely. But if you say to me, truly cared about Jack and Lily's case, you wouldn't have brought yourself forward, because it was said that because Daniel was dissing him, that's kind of, well, you know what? Suck it up, Buttercup. Because if that's what did it to you this whole time that you waited just to bring it to us, sorry, again, that and the inconsistencies go with it. Not buying it. I'm not buying that it was Emily and Hayden. I'm not buying that, maybe Alvin, well, he said he wasn't, but I'm just not buying it myself. It doesn't make sense. Where's your picture that you would have taken? Where is it in any documentation, let alone on the scanner audios or the police information as they're going off saying, oh yeah, a person has found, a couple pieces of clothing up on Lansdowne Road and stuff like that, because that would have been well past the time in a sense, or at least a good, 40 minutes, 45 minutes into it. Stuff like that you probably would have heard on the scanner radio. Then at some point, they changed channels because they didn't want us to hear certain things. Okay. Pinky says the more people that know, absolutely. I mean, that's just normal. That's not abnormal, right? It's just reality. It's just simple reality. The more people that know, the more someone will talk. And it won't even necessarily be about reward money. It will be because that they have children themselves and they don't want to be part of it, or they have knowledge. Trust me. Like I said, watch those true crime cases. You know how many people where family does cover up, and then then somebody comes along from family, whether it's a, aunt or a cousin or something like that, and then tells them a lot of the truth, because there are those people that just don't want to be part of that, don't want, that literally have the empathetic hearts to the case, and they don't want to be part of the web of lies of it and have knowledge. So that's not happening. Why? Well, because to me, the people on the property know the truth of Jack and Lily. The evidence, absolutely. It's kind of like the perfect storm of living in a rural area, leaving cell phones behind, and you don't probably have to go, say, too far. No real cameras too much in the area, on the POA and on the corner of where the railroad station is. I think it's just one of those little storms that's kind of perfect for the time, but the answers will slip out eventually. Somebody's going to give it up. Am I or withstand of somebody? Yeah, it's a real piss off. It's Jack and Lily, 2 children. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Wait, I just got to see. Let's say that it's a possibility, Sunny. Good question. Would be where the children are accustomed to leaving without saying goodbye to Malaya. Well, according to them, again, that would just make them liars then, wouldn't it? But Malaya already, remember in her messages to Belinda, she double talked herself about how the children were always supervised. And then she says, at points that, that they would go outside and, type of idea, but never leave the property. Well, what do you mean? I thought they were supervised, right? But I have to see the actual wording, but it's double talking. Daniel says it never happens. The children just don't do that. Well, apparently they do, and then they shut the door behind them because you said, Daniel, that it takes Jack and Lily both to close that door. That's one of those old ass hard doors that has the big suction cup to it, right? It's not one of those little roller ones. It's one of those ones that, yeah, you hear the rollers like you did, but it's got the suction to it. And you got 2 children. You think 2 children are going to be like, shh, Jackie boy, do this quietly, right? All I'm thinking, what I'm thinking right now is a stupid bear picture that Daniel sent to DT. You got to be freaking kidding me if you think that these children were somehow attacked by animals and there was no crime scene of a bear and stuff like that going on, and that there was no shred of a diaper or a shirt or a piece of, hair and stuff like that, and blood everywhere. Yeah, but here, you know what? This is just to prove that there is bears out there. So you're going to keep your door open, let the children play outside, knowing that there's bears around. Good parental control, then. Just don't buy it. It's lies, lies, lies. Lies, lies, and fake alibis. But I don't think it's a possibility. Well, again, right? We always should be looking, no matter what, at everything. Try to look at every scenario that seems plausible and most likely, right? But everything to me always comes back to the actions and the words of the people on the property. The whole, like I said, a stepdad in and out of Facebook groups, interviews beyond galore. Some of the words that he uses, there's no magic in the air, people. There's, everybody's gone. Yeah, because you literally went down from, seeing your kids, Malaya, Jack and Lily and Meadow there, to what? Waking up all by yourself with your mama. That's what you got, right? And then your mama, she mostly screams at you half the time anyway. I'm sure if she could shove you back up her vagina and redo you, she would, Like I said, I think Janie likes to tell the truth. But in this case, I don't think she's being truthful, and then it just sucks ass that she could not have a polygraph test, right? I mean, seriously, it's almost like, what more pile of shit could you add to this case to make it so confusing, right? Every time you think that an answer is going to come out of it, nope, nothing for us anyway. Let's just put it that way. Nothing for us. There's a huge difference. Smartass, they were trying to give the impression that they could be taken. Another misleading comment well, that was the thing. Again, let's go back to the interview. Okay. In the interview, Malaya keeps talking about how these kids, they'll just talk to everybody. They'll talk to people in the store. They'll talk to everyone. I think we should have like an alert. I'm sorry, the whole interview struck me as odd. Okay, why are you keep telling us that the children talk to everyone? Like it was like an and I don't think that the news people like edited it like that on purpose. I think it was just more of a raw interview. There was things cut out for sure. But to sit there to not mention their names, to come off with no tears and robotic as if it was scripted, and then to keep talking about how much the kids talk to people. Like that was just like here, like I'm saying it without saying it, but the kids are talkers. They'll talk to anybody. They'll go off with anybody, abduction, alert, because they'll just talk. That's what I took away from that. And I just was going, really? You're just going to keep at the start, you're just going to keep talking about how much they talk to strangers, And then it's like in the thing, well, I mean, it's not like they could have, but I mean, it is plausible, the whole Amber Alert and stuff like that, right? Just, it's nice and sunny out today. I just hope that they're warm. Who says that? Who says that? How about you're bawling out, tears out of your eyes and you're saying, I just want my kids, I just want Jack and Lily back so bad. But there was no mention of Jack and Lily's name, and there's no way a reporter is going to edit that out. It just wasn't said. Why? Because to me, it's a storyline. That's how it comes across. That's why their timelines, they can't make sense of it. Oh, no, I got out of bed and said to Daniel this. Oh, no, wait, I got out of bed and Daniel says, I said to Malaya this. Then Daniel, months down the road, goes, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think Malaya was right. I think she's the one that said it, right? Wait, DT, guess what? You know what was funny about that, DT? Is it was so quick how Malaya woke up and said that the children are missing, right? And that Malaya, she didn't even look in the room before we went outside. Malaya. Nah. Always remember that sentence that Daniel said, that Malaya is trying to blame him for everything so she doesn't get in trouble. To me, that's like saying, well, you know what? We both know we did something. I got goods on her. And Daniel has more than made that clear about having basically goods on Malaya. Well, guess what? It's two-way street there, right? But it's like sentences like that in a raw moment, the reporter says, right? Where he's caught, like in a sense, caught off guard, and he's more concerned about Malaya than actually Jack and Lily, right? Is how it was construed. Cared more about that than talking about, say, Jack and Lily and stuff. More about the relationship and that Malaya leaving him. She's trying to blame everything on me so she doesn't get in trouble. Hey, Shannon, how are you doing? A lot of people giving you loves and hugs. Earlier, if you didn't see it. I'm sorry if I'm missing a lot of comments, you guys. It's sometimes it's, like I go on my spiels, my preacher, moments and stuff. It's just because I do. It's like in this case, you can talk about one thing, which leads you into another that pisses you off, which leads you into another that pisses you off, and another and another and another. Yeah. Hey, sweetie. Okay. Daniel said, if you guys haven't hit that like button for Jack and Lily, of course, please do. Again, keep their case out there. Keep the awareness out there. That's what's important. And so, yeah, if you guys have not done that, could you please do that? Appreciate that. How many? I'm not sure. How many likes we got? Shy, this was my thoughts. Children usually want to say goodbye to their parents. Yeah, if it was a true story behind it. And Malaya did seem to be out with them. Waiting for the bus. You talking about on a regular day? Isn't it funny how Daniel just bashed Malaya left, right, and center? And then on Charmaine's live, it's like, oh, Malaya did this. Malaya did that. Malaya, got them ready for school. Malaya, he didn't, of course, know that Malaya had called them in. Call bullshit. call bullshit on that one for sure. There was a reason why I was going to say to that, but I forget at the moment, but it will come back to me. But yeah, I call bullshit on that. They're off school Wednesday, Thursday. Whoops, disappeared on a Friday. Well, probably Thursday, to be honest with you. You know. Okay. True shy. My son is anything but quiet when it comes to the house. There's no kids are not quiet. I mean, maybe if they're sneaking a cookie out of the cookie jar. Shh. You know, Jackie. A freaking thing opens up and it's like, shh. Ain't no way kids are being quiet. I think it's the whole in and out of sleep, can't remember times, can't remember days, can't remember events. And okay, so you're on drugs, say Daniel. Let's just hypothetically say that you're telling the truth, right? And that you weren't and whatever. But wait. What was I going to say? Forgot my own thought. I literally thought about something else for a quick second, come back to my thought, and I'm like, my brain's tired. It couldn't be the getting up at 4:40 in the morning could do it, could it? With maybe 4 hours of sleep, probably. You guys, I totally forget what I was just about to say. Something about Daniel pretending that you didn't do drugs. Yeah, right. Okay, forgot it. Too bad. Sorry about you guys about it again. I know that there's like a lot of different things. Heartbreaking. I'm not sure what Joan Grid had said there. I'm agreeing with you, Shannon, where Jack and Lily's parents, no matter what, they were not proper. No, I think that that's been proven. You know, I really think that Malaya obviously doesn't know how to pick men. And right, I think that I feel like myself, you know, that Malaya, you know, looking for that ultimate love from somebody, and says she picks these people, fixer uppers, gets caught up in them. I think she just makes an abundance of bad choices. And I think this relationship with Daniel was something that she thought was probably maybe a fairy tale until they moved into that trailer and realized it was a hellhole, you know, type of thing. And 3 children, you know, Daniel is to me proven that he's a manipulator, deceptive, controller. I believe all that stuff, you know. I mean, Malaya's not perfect. I'm not perfect in my relationships and stuff, but I can associate, you know. And I think that I probably think that she was in depression for sure. I do feel like she was. Wouldn't you be? Honestly? Normal human being living. Sorry, Janie, I hate to call your place dilapidated and crusty and whatever, but I mean, we all know that that was a hellhole for children to be on that property. It was a death trap, that yard and everything. And Janie might have been fine living that way, you know, by herself, and that's perfectly fine. But when you have children on the property, right, aren't we supposed to, you know, kind of protect them from some of those elements that are outside that they can get into? But don't forget, though, those children are always supervised. My ass. My ass. My ass. Tell you right now, they're not. That's just a bold-faced lies on that one. That's just to take away from themselves from looking even shittier, to be honest with you. But anyway, sorry. Okay. I gotta scroll down, guys, because I'm too far freaking behind on chat. But I really want to bring up what we kind of want to talk about. But I'm gonna need a minute. So hold on 1 second. Style, no, media. Just you know what I think I'm going to do quickly? I'm just going to take a couple minute break here. And while I do that, I'm going to play for anyone that knows the case of Abby and Libby, the Delphi murders, um, so for cases, I usually always like to make videos. It's my special meaning, for myself to do something that I like to do, and that if other people appreciate them, they do, or if family members appreciate them, they do. But still, always the reason why I do it is because it's a piece of me that can put a piece of them together. So I'm going to play that really for a couple minutes, and I'll be right back. And then I'm going to show you about what AI thought about where Jack and Lily might be. Okay. So I got to take down this comment first so it doesn't interfere. Hi, Nessa. Janie. Janie had nice looking place before. Yeah, I showed you guys her place. You know,
A PYA Super Chat. $13 Canadian and 99 cents. You're awesome. Thank you. This case is so frustrating and we just need
I was in my Twilight Zone, Pinky.
blue heart emoji, pink heart emoji.
Yeah, and I mean, the way it's going to be is that we're just going to keep, anyone that keeps wanting to come forward and saying something, that's going to get fed into, of course. And then, but at this point, it's unless, someone with actual information wants to tell us before they tell the RCMP, you know, some people do that shit. It's like, why aren't you telling this to the RCMP? Why are you coming online to tell us all about it? How about you go to the RCMP first and give that, because I don't like police and stuff like that. Da, 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 da. Suck it. Talking about cases here. These aren't games. But thank you, Pinky, for that. And now I got to go back to media. So anyone, again, that knows the case of the Delphi, Abby and Libby, two teenage girls that went for a walk on the Monon High Bridge in a Delphi, a place of 3,000 in Indiana, and murdered. Okay, so I'm here. So that was Abby and Libby. I've made a bunch of videos for them throughout, but that was I think towards the end, pretty much of Richard Allen. He's going through an appeal or whatever right now and stuff like that. But Richard Allen, you're exactly where you belong, piece of shit. Anyways, going back to Jack and Lily. So we'll put them back on stage here. Jack and Lily, Justice. Watching the families that fought for Libby and Abby. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Fighting, literally, right? They don't care. They don't care that they have to do the interviews and stuff like that. They don't care at all because they want like the fighting that they did for Abby and Libby for answers 7 years later. All the time, every waking moment, fighting. What we call fighting. Seth Rogers for Sebastian Rogers. Right? Fighting all the time. He never had a YouTube channel. Well, he had a YouTube channel, but I mean, that man keeps advocating for answers, right? Same situation. Sebastian Rogers, the biological mom and the stepfather, and totally sus. Biological father, Seth Rogers, that comes into the chat sometimes. Covered that case for a good year and a half, I believe it was. Good year at least for sure. It was a year and a half probably. Same thing. That's what you want to see. You want to see that type of fight, that type of attention that's coming from the family members. So again, that fight from the truest form is Belinda Gray. That's coming out and always fighting to speak about, talk about, joining lives, being everywhere, wanting to know what's being said. And it's exhausting. It's tiring. It's heartbreaking. Her daughter Chelsea Gray, supporting her mom. That's the love, right? You can tell how much Chelsea supports and loves her mother. Again, if I wanted a grandmother, I would absolutely choose Belinda Gray to be one of my grandmothers if I had to choose, right? So to Belinda and to Chelsea, again, I mean, there's others, of course, but I'm talking about family members in specific. Daniel, you got to take a step down. You were on the property for that. So even though Daniel's drama, his talking, I mean, Daniel's first one to tell you all his talking has kept this case out there. I can't disagree. Thank you for that, regardless. But to Belinda, that has no stake in the game, fighting. Sorry, I'm not watching Janie do that. All I saw was Janie do an interview saying that I'm just trying to prove to you guys that this is what happened. This is what happened. And you very little heard that this was about Jack and Lily. In fact, at about Daniel's, I mean, you might hear Daniel more saying about Jack and Lily, but Daniel and Janie have made it a lot about themselves and talking. And it's very consistent and it's very noticeable, right? And all you want to hear is someone coming up and saying, like Seth Rogers, that keeps talking about Sebastian Rogers. Okay. So someone had sent me these. I'm not going to say who, but just somebody that sent me these that obviously watches the live and, said that they really like the live and the AI thoughts and stuff like that. So, this person plunked into AI about, like the information out there, right? About the vehicles and stuff driving by, the information that's in the documents, all that stuff. Anyways, so this says the scent and the vehicle. So 1, the intersection railway culvert zone, primary speculative location. It says the scent and vehicle, the driveway scent line means that the children left the property in a vehicle. Justin Smith's statement places that vehicle stopping and going quiet for a few minutes, and then at the tracks by the Gairloch Road, Lansdowne Station Road intersection. Read the speculative spot. Because a driver attempting to conceal evidence on a dark night with a ticking clock is severely limited by time, they cannot trek deep into the woods. The most likely depository is within the steep, marshy drainage culverts directly flanking the railroad tracks within 50. What does it say? Within 50. I think we're down here somewhere. Oh, 15. No, wait. I thought I seen 50. Where did I see that? Within 50 meters. 50 meters, I think. But anyways, the scent in the vehicle tie-in. Brad Wong reported the vehicle driving back and forth, stopping in the distance, but staying within earshot. I remember that Brad Wong had said that one of those times that with the vehicle that night was that it was almost like it drove, then stopped. I think it was, I can't remember if it was Matheson or McLeod that he said that for. But anyways, that in particular, one of the times it was like you could hear the vehicle and it stopped, and it was like stopped for about 20 minutes and then and then came back. And the reason again why Brad Wong is that he was out in his yard, right? You guys have all seen his place pretty much. That he was out working on his vehicle, and it was the oddity of hearing a vehicle. And so it was just kind of like, hey, oh, like what's going on here type of thing. And then so basically he was watching, like waiting to see like what's the vehicle doing that's going right, because remember, don't forget, he can see the lights go in. DT tried to lie to you about that and say that the POA camera that wasn't working would have seen and stuff like that, and the elevation. So Brad Wong supplied me with a video to show that he could see the lights as they went by, just like you could see the lights as if they went into Daniel's property. Anyways, so that's what was struck him as odd, right? That just this movement going on at night, which wasn't normal, he said. And so he paid attention, and he's a night owl. So yeah, I mean, you live in a place where there's very few people around you, and you're hearing a vehicle, past 12 o'clock at night type of thing. And so anyways, thanks always for Brad for, trying to give us his best information. Justin, had given some information, talked to him a little bit. Justin's really not into any sort of limelight of this case, obviously, but obviously he was mentioned on the scanner radio and stuff that morning. But anyways, so in the Brad Wong reported that the vehicle back and forth, stopping the distance, but staying within earshot of 1407 of Gairloch Road, reported the vehicle ultimately departing toward Lairg Road. The re-speculated spot, Lairg Road, is an unlit, heavily canopied, covered logging route. The vehicle behavior matches someone pulling over, scouting a spot, getting spooked or changed their mind, and driving back. The highest statistical probability rests within 15 meters of the shoulder along the first 2 kilometers of Lairg Road. Obviously, I don't feel that way. I think that they would have been found, obviously, speculatively hidden inside decaying hollow logs or buried underneath dense brush. Now, that part I can buy into. Just past the immediate ditch line, probably further. And oh wait, shoot! Did I skip one? Did I skip one? No, I feel like I skipped one. Brad Wong. Okay, that's just okay. That's where it was. So this one, sorry guys, I accidentally went to 1 to 3. So within the 50 to 100 meters of the crossing, the dense cattails and stagnant water in the specific grid would make remains from aerial drones and initial superficial ground sweeps. Okay, sorry guys. And then I went on to this one, and the rest of that was repeated. And then, so I was just going to say, conclusion, when all the known data is synthesized, the abrupt end of a scent trail, the lack of any clothing or footprints found by the 24 ground search teams in the actual woods, the late night vehicle sounds, the lost in the woods narrative is highly improbable. Statistically, the children's remains are likely concealed in a water-filled feature near the railroad tracks or just off the shoulder. Well, I think it's a bit further than that. Myself, but it's just taking the information, because obviously it's not like there's actual physical receipts. Those are just speculative timelines, in a sense that Brad figured was about what it went down this road at this time somewhat, about this time frame. Either or. I mean, if they're in the woods, they're going to be definitely very much hidden underneath the earth, and or in some sort of cavity in the ground that's covered up. Because I get the fact that we're talking about a bunch of woods. So my question to you is, um, I personally don't think that Daniel or Malaya, if they had something to do with Jack and Lily's disappearance, and if we believe in of course, the timeline of, Justin and Brad Wong, right? Even though the RCMP said that there was nothing to substantiate it, but again, they know the truth of a lot of things that we don't. But I do not think then that they're that far, maybe out of the search grid for sure, but I don't think that they're that far. I'm trying to think of in my head and just logically, okay, Daniel, we know that he probably knew that those cameras near the railroad tracks weren't working, if that's the case. Now, Brad said he never heard a quad, okay, that it was definitely a 5-speed vehicle, and he's 100% sure that Daniel owned a Kia Rio. Said that he listened to it all the time in the morning when he'd go to work. And somehow Daniel's talking about the crushing of a Dodge Journey, and stuff like that. Just weird shit. But my question really to you is, what's your guys' thoughts, with where they are, Jack and Lily? If you don't feel like they're alive, I don't understand why Malaya would join a search if she feels like her kid's alive for looking in the woods. That doesn't make sense to me. Actually, it actually just pisses me off even more. I wanted to hear from the mother at the start, not excuses later, for that. So that shit pisses me off. You guys know that. Hey, Sammy from Miami. Hey, how you doing, Sammy? Thank you for the $1.49 super sticker. Welcome, guys. So yeah, if you guys believe that these children aren't alive, how far, do you think it was 15 minutes away, 20 minutes? It's really hard because, again, that would mean we can't really take anything past 2:25 on the Thursday, right? Really, at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, we don't know, right? But the thing is that the further in certain places there are cameras, right? The further you go down Gairloch Road, up towards say Westville, there are cameras, right? If you go past that house with the cameras that doesn't work, there is a camera on their place, right? Brad had a hunting camera on Lansdowne Station Road. What it exactly saw, I don't know. So my guess is that I don't feel like it's that far, but yeah, I mean, drones can only do so much for sure, for the trees and the, thermal imaging and stuff like that. You guys would have to know the Nicola Bully case. All these same things were used and she was right there, and they missed her. But 2 children, if it's 1 child, sure. 2 children falling down a freaking hole and suffocating over soil and shit like that, no. No. I don't believe in the abduction theory. They don't. So I don't put my put my bags on that one or whatever for that abduction thing. It's ridiculous. For me, that's ridiculous. So that's why I concur with RCMP. Not an abduction. If they're in the woods, to me, they're buried in the woods. It's not because they're alive. With how well it was searched, I lean towards farther out, right? It's hard to say when it's not known what exactly happened. Well, that's right. And that's all this is, right? It's just about the speculative part of it, just with the things that we do know and trying to make sense of lies and truth and stuff like that, right? That's just it, right? So we're trying to rely on, someone like Brad Wong or Justin, right? That has more information where they don't have a stake in the game. So why come forward, right? Like Alexa said, Brad becomes more credible because he doesn't really even want to deal with the RCMP, but because he has children of his own and a wife, Mary, and right. So, Brad's pissed off at the RCMP because they literally set up camp right in front of his freaking home. And it was like 8 days later, I think it was May 9th, that they finally came to him, right? And you're literally right there. That's ridiculous, right? Just like not shutting down the area and keeping people off the property, it's just to me ridiculous. And then he says that they came back like whatever it was, like another 20 days later. And he's basically like, how about a cup of fuck off type of thing? Like, seriously, it took you this long to, you know what I mean? Because you would have thought that that stuff would have been done. But I felt like what they were doing, this is where I feel. I feel like that the RCMP pretty much put all their eggs in the basket that these children were simply just missing and trying to find them in the woods. That's why it took them, all that time then to go, oh, you know what? Can't find them now. Oh, let's go get some camera footage. Right? That's kind of how I feel about that, right? That's how I see it. Doesn't mean it's true, but that's how I see it. Why multiple trips? Well, if you're planting stuff or trying to, do things, there's little details there. Again, like why did Daniel and Janie both keep telling us, well, Daniel, I left my phone on the thing. Wait a second. Then you have Haley saying that when she was there, Daniel kept using Malaya's phone on that day, the first day, and wouldn't use his own. Wait, didn't Malaya smash her phone? Hold on, Daniel. You said that she smashed her phone, but you input that information that, well, I'm telling you the story, but oops, it's just to let you guys know that my phone was inside and I didn't take it with me. 1 minute you said that you're there, that you were searching before the RCMP arrived. And then you basically say that you're there before the RCMP arrived as well and stuff like that. Again, lies will only hold up for so long, right? The more you talk, the more the inconsistencies will show. And that's, to me, exactly what's happened in this case. Maybe Dee knows we miss them, and that's why he feels so confident. Absolutely. He might think that, you know what, searchers are done, I just, why would Daniel be so pissed off? Right? Like either that's just a humongous ego. When he wasn't told about the cadaver dogs coming, and as he was spewing out how pissed off basically he was, and that he was that made him basically want to share all the other information. Why would you be pissed off? Not about not being told. You don't even deserve that, right? But Daniel feels like, wow, this is to me his own stupidity. Hey boys, you guys tell me pretty much everything. You tell me that I'm not a suspect. I mean, I'm even signing some paper saying that it's not because I'm a suspect and blah, blah, blah. Idiot. If he thinks for 1 second that they're befriending him for genuine purposes or going to tell him important details about dogs coming, they're going to, surprise, Daniel. It's just ridiculous. All these things of what he's trying to portray. But again, it's either you fell off the turnip truck or you didn't. You either believe that man or you don't, or you see right through it. Right. And again, this is just the to me, the pretense of, I'm going to keep telling you. The thing is, it's to his own downfall. If Daniel comes to have anything to do with these children missing, I mean, this guy is pretty much, for the most part, up until they have the proper evidence, he's pretty much handed over the basket, to the RCMP. I think that they think, like, honestly, when I think about the RCMP and what Daniel tells us, I feel like they're like literally sitting in the RCMP building, like fucking slapping their knee, laughing so hard at just how ridiculous he sounds. And they're just like, see, look at the idiot actually believes this type of thing. I don't understand in what world that someone would think that helicopters are there for him, that all these drones are there for him. Yeah, because they're watching your ass. They're watching everything you do. They want to know all these things about you guys, okay? This isn't like I said, like, oh, Daniel, yeah, absolutely, you got nothing to do with it. You're safe. You're safe from everything. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're going to play their tricks, their games, whatever it takes to find answers for Jack and Lily. But they've hit a roadblock. They've hit the roadblock that they just don't have the evidence, right? Phones are left. Well, it doesn't take a brainiac that to leave your phone. Janie, yeah, and you said you didn't even have your phone before the RCMP came, but clearly your stupid picture that you showed shows that you had it, like freaking 10 minutes prior to the RCMP. Okay, maybe I can overlook that. But you guys keep giving these details up that shouldn't have mattered to say. Like, I don't think that there was a need to input that, oh, by the way, I left my phone, of course, on the table, but how are you looking at all those culverts? Phone, right? One of your burner phones? What? I don't know. You're just full of it. They would have all had months to move and reload anything due to the wood bans. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of stupid if you ask me. Kind of like, like I said, I think when Daniel says go left, you go right. That's how I feel about Daniel. Everything when he says something, typically, unless it's like a genuine more answer, like let's say he's answering a question about Jack and Lily and says, Lily loves, her, dollies or lolly dolls or LOL dolls, and Lily likes to, dolly up and, wear pink and that. Okay, truth. Jack likes to play with bugs and blah, 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 blah. Truth. Right? So you definitely throw, like most, you're not going to full out 1000% lie about everything. You got to somewhat remember the lies. But I think that just over time, again, due to his own downfall, that it's only a wonder why people keep, he's the one that's willing to open up his mouth and say things if he wants to. And he wants to sink his own ship if he had involvement. Well, he's doing a good job. Damn good job. Right? But it's just this. I just don't understand how someone could be this possibly stupid, to tell us things that he shouldn't say to us, But it's his own demise, his arrogance and his ego. It's right that he doesn't want to be known as this bad person, this monster. So he's going to make you believe that just all you have to do is go look at Taylor's messages, the sick, twisted mindset. I can only imagine what's going to come out in, like the case coming up and stuff like that. We'll see. But it's two children. That's the bare bones of it all. It's just two children. People should be talking. People should be mad that Jack and Lily don't have answers, But then the loyalty shit comes along. Fuck yeah, fuck that. Should be no loyalty, type of that. It's just kind of one of those things that, if you know something, say something. As long as the RCMP know, as long as the RCMP know, right? But obviously they don't have enough information for anything to happen. And that's because I believe that, that the secret's hidden in the trees amongst the property is for what I think. Sammy, how come nobody has been arrested for a simple fact that two Dependent's fortune lost in the hands down of 3 grown adults, like they're gone. I'm sure that there's the reasons for that, to be honest with you, right? I'm sure that there's reasons for that. And I think that those reasons will eventually show themselves. Is Daniel going to come back and ask if he can clear up his inconsistencies against Sunny? Prob not. Prob not. You know? I mean, I hope I made it clear to him multiple times that no matter what he says, I still believe what I believe. You know? I mean, again, if he wants to speak to people, it's either you don't believe him or you do, right? Take your pick, right? Like someone that's constantly so much worried about their self-preservation of their own, how they're being portrayed or looked at, you know, suck it. You're in the midst of 2 children missing that you and Malaya created regardless. Jack and Lily didn't do it to themselves. So even at the minimal of this, we always say, you know, people like Belinda and that kept asking, are you going to take accountability? Because according to you guys, of course, did nothing, but yet you were in bed while 2 kids are awake. And these 2 children did everything opposite of what they should have. And then they go missing. And then you can't get a consistent story. It's like pulling teeth. Why should it, if 2 children are missing, why shouldn't we have a clear outline then? If you have no problem talking and answering, right? Why is your brains all foggy? Why are you guys all in and out of sleep? Because that's typically what liars say in cases. It's always that type of thing, right? Memory loss, suddenly sleeping. I don't know. When I asked Daniel about Malaya, I said, well, if you've seen Lily a few times, don't you think Malaya would have? And he's like, well, I'm not going to speak for Malaya because I don't really know like what she was doing. What do you mean? You were lying in the same bed with her. The kids came in multiple times. You were clearly awake, so you would have known if Malaya, but you don't want to speak on that because you're going to catch yourself in a catch, 22, aren't you? Right? So we're going to avoid those questions. We're going to try to keep sticking to our narrative, but along those narratives, the inconsistencies keep coming and coming and coming, right? The inputting of information throughout the case. And that's the part where I just don't buy into that, You can't tell me months later, wait, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure Malaya left all those clothes at Patty's house. I didn't realize it at the time, but oops, it took me 6 months to open my mouth about it, right? No, fuck off. It pisses me off that we all know Daniel is guilty, but Malaya is playing the stupid game of not knowing the kids could be real, far from the house if they were taken Thursday. Well, first of all, remembering your opinion, because it's right. We all, you know what I mean? We can't say he's guilty because we don't know. We might think it, but we don't know. So obviously, in my opinion, right? Okay. Angelina. Yes, Sonny, I agree. I think the RCMP are furiously pissed with Daniel, and they want his butt in prison and our help. Well, again, I still believe that, that this case will tie into the other case. I think that my personal opinion is I just feel like they want these charges to stick, for the secondary case in a sense. I feel like they know the answers, right? And as much as we feel we know the answers, we don't still know it totally, right? I mean, it still could be something different than what we believe it is. There is that chance, of course, but it's just the probability and the actions of what we're seeing that it's more likely to be this than not this. Well, that's how I feel. Absolutely. And I feel like that this documentary is the epitome of it. Dragon Blaze. Where was the vehicle crash? I don't know. I don't know. Ask Daniel. Hi, Peggy Day. How are you? Well, Pictou County is a small place. Would anybody take a car from Daniel Martell and crush it without calling the RCMP first? I don't know. So I'm still all confused on that because some people say that he did it before Jack and Lily went missing. All I remember is Justin, Sundance, right? The one that said that he heard the vehicle at 1:30 go to the tracks, stop, and then go back up towards the road. I just remember him saying, did you know that the vehicle went missing after Jack and Lily went missing? And I was like, eh? What are you talking about? So then I said to Brad, hey, Brad, like, did you know about the vehicle that went missing after Jack and Lily? I can't remember exactly what he said, but Brad is, when he was in here yesterday, I said to him again, I've asked him this multiple times, actually, probably sick of it. Brad, are you certain that that vehicle was a Kia Rio? And he said 100%. I know that Brad is not in here to go, you know what, let's just shove it up Daniel's ass. Let's just fuck him over and blame him. I'm sure that Brad has no love lost for Daniel. Anyway, you know, and I don't know how much he knew him. I don't even think really a little bit prior to this case, right? And so I can't really remember. I don't want to speak out of term on that one. But Brad's not going to come along and be like, yeah, you know what? Let me just kind of fuck with you, Daniel. Let me just sit here and place blame and make a vehicle of nowhere. And hey, guess what? You know, I'm going to speak to the police about it. I'm going to put my name out there, stuff like that. No. Honestly, he lives around the Martells and the Mackenzies. He didn't ask to be part of this case, no, let alone want to be part of this case, but he feels compelled because of children. Anyone that has children, right? You would think. So there has to be some truth in all of this. Children just didn't off the property, right? I know some people believe that they don't believe the children even made it home. I still believe that they did make it home. But I think that something happened that night. Either they were smothered or that they got into drugs and it was a cover up. Could have been something else. But that's just kind of where my head takes me to, because I do feel like that they did make it home. You know, I know that the Google Maps can be edited, but, you know, I mean, the thing is pretty consistent with leaving and then making it back home at 3:11, right? I mean, Cindy, if what is true, right, in the documents about that, you know, Cindy FaceTimed, or Malay and her FaceTimed, you know, after that point, right? So Cindy would know for sure if those children were alive at that point. I believe that Jack and Lily were, myself. I just think that something happened to them on Thursday, that a cover up for Friday, a timeline that was rushed and didn't make sense. And that's why it doesn't make sense. And that's why things are all over the place. Simple as that. With the new growth, I know I will change to looking at multispectral imaging to see increased growth patches in the vegetation in the area. I also created a digital surface model to detect disturbed ground on there. You know what? All I can say is, again, for anyone putting in the efforts because this case means so much to them, and you have the ability to use or have the technology, because again, it's your forte, to use a tool or tools to your advantage because you're good at something you do. In the sake of Jack and Lily, again, prayers to everyone that put the time and effort in. I only wish, I don't live there. I live on the West Coast, you know. I am sorry, but I ain't flying out to Nova Scotia at any point soon. Not unless I get a bunk with Daniel. Freaking bucket of KFC there. But to anyone that does make it to the searches and stuff like that, that take time out because so much they care about the case, it's people like you that are needed in order to hopefully find Jack and Lily, you know, if they're in that earth or around that water and stuff like that. Again, things can be overlooked, yes, you know, it's very plausible. But again, we just kind of go back to 2 children. I still believe that the 2 children, if they're out there, it's not because they're alive, right? No. In the woods or in the water, chances are, like typically, you know, a lot of sadly, a lot of cases end up with children in suitcases. It's like a whole suitcase thing goes on, stuff like that. Yeah, well, again, because I don't believe that I think that Belinda is correct that when Malaya left that property, because she already knew the answer. And she probably wanted to get the fuck away from Daniel because something happened. But yeah, but when she left the property, it wasn't because she was actually trying to get the fuck away from Daniel. It was because Meadow needed to get off the property. Right? And she wasn't about to leave their precious pride and joy between Daniel and her. That's not the reason she left the property, is to get the fuck away from Daniel. Right? It was supposedly, I'll say, you know, because Daniel, she went to the blood work done. Daniel, to me, was cheating on her, absolutely. And Malaya went right to fucking Facebook, pretty much, right? On the Sunday, okay? That's when the message came in. That was 2 days later, right? Yep, Sunday. So does that make sense to you guys? Sunday, she gets that message. It wasn't the 3rd, like what was reported at first. It's Sunday. 2 days, the pictures come down of Daniel. She marks herself as single. That makes sense, right? She leaves the property because of Meadow. She needs to get off. Gets that message on Sunday and goes to her Facebook, marks herself as single because that's a priority, right? That's the fucking priority of a mother that has 2 missing children, that goes up and brings her Facebook up just so that she can get rid of Daniel. It just doesn't mesh well with me, right? Facebook, all your anything you can utilize to put your children's faces out there. You would think one would do that without even having to be asked. It would just be automatic. But that didn't happen. Even for Daniel, that didn't happen. Why? Why? Because you know, right? Why does Malaya's family say that she's acting as if her children aren't missing? Because of the actions, right? Getting dolled up, getting ready, going out, going to the beach and different shit, right? Dating, seeing other men, Daniel seeing other females. Really? Who would even think to do that? You'd have to be pretty fucked up in the head to even entertain relationships, right? I can understand once time has gone by, you know, but when you're just in the midst of these children missing, like within the first month, really? Seriously? You're gonna go sit there and, you know, have a fuck along and shit like that? children are missing? Tell me that that makes sense. Tell me that that's logical. Tell me that a mother hides. It's not. It's not normal. Her again, her own family is sitting there. Wade, I mean Haley, right? Sitting there saying like what she's doing is strange. Right? I know people always say this to back themselves up that, well, people can do, different things and whatever. Yeah, sure, to a point. But we've seen it pretty much the whole way through. So I'm glad for people like us that want to bring awareness to this case when a lot of family members don't want to speak out or be truthful, or they do, but behind the scenes and stuff like that. But I'm always grateful for any time that they have spoken, because that's what we want to, those are the people we want to hear from. Even if they get information wrong, it's still the people that you want to hear from is the closest to Jack and Lily, right? Yes, I have over 200. Let me ask you, Drone. Well, I mean, it's a hard one because there's so much brush. There's so much trees. There's so much. Hi, Peggy. Right? Hi, Roseanne. Drone. Woods or water, Drone? I think so. I'm getting so tired right now. Mm-hmm. I think I would like to escape mental patient. I think I would like an escape mental patient if I couldn't find my kid. Absolutely. I'm telling you right now, I could not keep my composure. I can't picture a mother that could keep her composure without fucking busting up in tears. And I guess perhaps if you're lying, it's, again, if you don't know how to practice, if you're part of something, say, and you don't know how to practice for it, so you have to create, because your head, let's say, knows you're guilty, so you're having to bring forth false emotions, right, that aren't natural. Hence why I believe we see lack of tears. Right, Daniel? Leah? Lack of emotions, right? Like I said, I can't believe that there was no, especially from the mother. Daniel's not even the fucking, stepfather, really, right? He's a man that's been in her life for a couple years, okay, granted. But Malaya's the mother of these two children. I can't see how any mother can do an interview without breaking down at any point that she's talking about her own children, right? Like, nothing. Barry Morphew for his wife, Suzanne Morphew. Nothing. Oh, Suzanne. The facials come in there, right? The facials. Oh, we just want you home so bad. If anyone out there has information, fuck off. That's all I see of this is, I mean, it's almost like every freaking culvert, dirt road, it's the same thing for pretty much each interview. When Daniel does this. Nothing. Literally nothing. Malaya just has the one interview to go by, but to me it said a lot, to be honest with you. Do I think that see, I just don't know. I don't know. Do I think that Daniel could manipulate Malaya? Sure. Absolutely. Um, Probably a willing participant that maybe didn't want to be of the manipulation, but women think differently than men. Men, yeah, try to manipulate, right? Do I think that Daniel could have said, like, Leia, we have to say that we've seen the kids because or else we're going to look, bad or something like that. Could he have said that? Doesn't matter. She placed Lily being alive at 8:20 regardless. So that has to be stuck. Those are the words. Even if they were a bold-faced lie, doesn't matter. You make your bed, you lie in it. That's your timeline. That's timeline that you gave, right? So you place these children as being alive. But then you got to try to make sense of this timeline where Jack and Lily could have disappeared in a short amount of time. You have to overlook the fact that the RCMP didn't believe Janie. You have to overlook the fact that the RCMP didn't believe Daniel, So, again, once you place it, then you got to stick to it because that's what you said. You said what you said. So you all place them alive. Janie, Daniel, Malaya, all place those children alive. So, great. Tell us about that 1 hour gap that you can't tell us about, Daniel. What were you doing again? Because it was 20 minutes later, you guys were up going, doo-doo-doo-doo. No. Mm-mm. She's young, selfish, entitled, steals from grandma, etc. Doesn't work, doesn't clean. Yeah, no. Again, the more time went on, the more you could tell Patty's a cash cow for, I'm sure, just more than Malaya. I'm probably Hayden as well. Steals, yeah. I mean, I don't think Wade was lying there, about getting money and then being broke. I think mathematically that doesn't make sense, that you'd be broke after just getting a nice little check from the government. And then you want to go fuck the government over. Well, that's what you call karma. Definitely there's probably tension going on with all that shit. Absolutely. Doesn't work. Doesn't clean. Well, she'd know. Stop. She did once for 6 months when she was 15. Doesn't clean. Sometimes. Okay, I'm going to give it to her sometimes. Doesn't take care of her children. Meadow, for sure. I feel like Meadow, for sure. Jack and Lily, I think she did. I agree with Belinda that the Malaya of today was not the Malaya that she knew. Once she got in that relationship with Danielle, fucked her life right up, obviously. Just when she thought she probably couldn't sink anymore, right, about her bad choices, and her and Daniel meet. Probably a very toxic, unhealthy relationship. But Malaya had a choice to leave in, right? And then I guess she stayed. She chose. She put her children in a situation with drugs around to no care about the kids. So how does that look on her? She thought she was in a bad relationship with Cody. Now look. Done herself no favors. I'm sure just like Daniel's family knows Daniel for who he truly is, conniving, manipulative and stuff. I think that they're fully aware that Malaya basically doesn't know how to take care of herself because she relies on other people too. She's probably been had a bunch of, money, different things, I mean, what was it? Was it Shubenacadie? Is that the reservation she's on? The Shubenacadie? You know, here's 5,000 in gas cards, whatever, 3,000 in food vouchers. Here, oh, by the way, here's a home. Not exactly working hard for it. Children, she's getting money for children because of child tax credit. They go fuck that over. No, that must have been hard. Spending money on your toys, and next thing you know, people have to bring wooden food to you because you guys fucked yourself over. Those kids are pretty fast bushwhackers, man. Straight up, grew up in the Canadian woods, and I'm pretty athletic and know the ropes of the woods. Well, I couldn't have disappeared that quickly, right? The drone can't see very well. No, right. So boots on the ground need to join in. But wait, but what the drones does well with, in the compilation I sent you, I'll take a look at that after, okay? Drone, I sent you. You can see the bottom of the water, stones and sticks. Okay. Yeah. It's amazing what, technology can do over time. DNA can do over time. What drones can do is the technology, but unfortunately, in this particular case of Jack and Lily, at this moment, I feel like the technology, the ruralness, the cell phones, the lack of evidence, they have to tie whoever did this to Jack and Lily. They have to have a strong case. They got one time to get it right. It's that simple. And they're not gonna, they'll sit, they'll wait as long as they need to, because they're not gonna fuck the case over. Not a case as big as this one. So for me, at this point, we have to trust and believe that the answers will come. I believe that there's a bunch of good people that are working on this case for Jack and Lily. I believe that there's a lot of smart people, and I don't think that Daniel Malay are the smartest bulbs in the world. They're not. But I just think that the lack of evidence and stuff like that, in my opinion, is where it lacks. Okay. I'm going to have to leave it there. I'm getting very tired. This live is 3 hours and 38 minutes. I did a 5-hour live. I just feel I need to eat. I need to relax and stuff like that. So I do appreciate you guys being here, but I'm just getting really tired. I do want to say, Kimberly, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Share Cares, thank you so much for, again, the pens and the stickers for Jack and Lily, and the $6.99 super sticker. Ariel, thank you for the $3 super sticker. Shenanigans, thank you for the $6.99 super sticker. And Pinky, thank you. Again, I feel like I'm thanking you all the time. This case is so frustrating, and we just need answers for Jack and Lily. Truth. They'll come, guys. Right? So again, all I can do is, probably the thing really to go back to a lot is really just back to the beginnings. I know Charmaine's been doing that, but it really is. The truth is near the beginnings of it, when people are talking, the interviews are rawer and stuff like that, and a lot more things are said. I absolutely believe that Daniel said that he was on the quad. I absolutely, whether he was or not, it's a different story, but I absolutely believe that he said that, because there's no way all those newspapers are going to get that part wrong, right? And that's common sense. Oh, I just heard a jingle. Oh, Tom Lou, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the $10 super sticker. God, my brain's going now. Chelsea, thank you for being here. Chelsea. Wait, Chelsea, I got a bone to pick with you. I told Mom that I was the one working hard today. And what were you doing? I come home, do a live. What are you doing? You sitting there laying on the freaking lake like that as if there's not a care in the world. Right, Share Cares? Not a care in the world. Oh, sorry I'm late, she says. It was a rough day. She didn't say that part. But I'm just saying, this is why Belinda loves me more. A little bit. I'm always going to bug her probably about that, just to be honest with you. Oh, and by the way, Chelsea, that tree thing you made with your jewels and gems, the one that's the current one that I saw, that is the best one. So I love vibrancy. I love color. That one caught my eye right away. When I saw ones below that necessarily didn't have as much vibrancy, for me, I know some people are more like, towards the plain or whatever. Not me. The minute freaking rainbows and Skittles and all that hit my face, I'm good. But anyways, that one, beautiful. Beautiful work you do. Lily and Jack, absolutely. They only have one kick at the bucket. That's 1,000,000,000% the truth, right? And you're not going to fuck this case over by jumping the gun like they did in the Barry Morphew case, and then they had to pull back. They're not, right? We just got to keep praying and praying and praying that through our strength and through our prayers and through our, sharing and keeping it out in the algorithm, that, those answers will come to light. They need to come to light. That's the bottom line of it, So go ahead and say another 1,000 prayers for Jack and Lily, precious little children. Okay? Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, they are ours. They're all of ours. Because I feel like we do a better job at taking care of them and trying to be their voices. I have called her sis. Wait, you talking about my sister? I'd say brother from another mother, but that doesn't rhyme. So unless she is, Chelsea, any chance that you had an operation, and I could actually use that particular term? Yeah. Oops. There we go. I don't know how I did that one. Lily and Jack. It is. I seen you say that, and I concurred. I did firmly concurred. Thank you for your time today, Sunny. You did a great live. We enjoy you and appreciate you for all you do for Jack and Lily. Big hugs. Thank you. Trying to think. I do want to do a live tomorrow because it's Thursday. It's my Friday. So I'm going to go look over stuff that I really want to bring back from the past, of stuff that I personally have to go over, things that are said. So I really want to look over that stuff tonight. I'll take a look, drone, at the stuff that you sent as well. I appreciate all your hard work you do. Oh, no, thank you guys for all your hard work you do too. I know it's done in a little bit different way, obviously, because not everyone's going to pull up a channel. But again, it really does take people to come together to be voices for the victims. And that's really what we are. We're voices. We're not going to, we're detectives in a little bit of a way and stuff, trying to solve it. And well, not solve it, but figure it out so that we kind of can have some clarity to the truth of Jack and Lily. And, did it happen at this time? Did it not happen at that time? Well, no matter how you look at it, it's just all convoluted. And it's just really because the people that are telling it are the people you don't believe in. So all you can take is stuff from the documents, but that doesn't mean that it's true either. Like just because Daniel said it or Malaya said it in the documents, doesn't make it true, right? It just means that that's what they said. And right. So I don't know. It's all confusing with lie detector tests and, passy, on certain things, first round, telling the truthful, stuff like that. But, again, just give yourself a big hug for having just really beautiful hearts that follow this case and want to do their part. Because at the end of the day, like I said, if people didn't follow this case and it got boring and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, this case goes on too long. It's it's going to fall into that category, and we just don't want to see that. We want answers before that, but we'll see how it goes. All right. Yeah, that's it. Sister from another mister. All right. Anyways, you guys take care. Oh, Belinda and Chelsea, I'm not sure if you guys did hear this part of it, but when I was and I'm just repeating myself, but when I was at work today, when I was kind of being close to getting off, hold on, drink for Granny. Mm. Belinda, I swallowed that just for you, just so you know that, okay? It's diet, so don't worry about it. Chelsea, that one was for you. Sunny, this one's for you. There we go. Now I feel like I can talk again. Anyways, so I had a call come in, and which I thought was odd because of the number it was coming from. But anyways, she said she was from Nova Scotia. I'm not going to say her name, at least not here. I could tell you off, but she said, I said, oh, you must know of course, the Jack and Lily case. And she said that she knows Patty very well. She's known her for multiple years. Worked right beside her. I think she worked at, actually, I won't even say that, at least not on the live, just, because it is a smaller place. But anyways, and plus, like I said, a little privacy there because she did call into work, not for true crime, but for, obviously something else. But anyways, I did try to ask her what she thought, and she didn't actually really want to say much about what her opinion was, as much as she just kept saying, like, what a really, really sad case. She lives in Truro. I thought she said Pearl at first when she said Nova Scotia. I'm like, Pearl? Okay. And then she's like, Truro. It's the accent a little bit in there, eh? But anyways, so it was just, what she said, of course, that it was very, Truro and that Bible Hill and, very tight-knit community and stuff like that, which we pretty much already know, and stuff like that. But just one of those things. It's not like I took that call because any agent could have got that call, but it was just, she was sitting there going, what's the mother's name again? What's the mother's name? And I'm like, then she's like, no, wait, what's the grandmother's name? And I'm like, Belinda, Cindy, Patty. And then she's like, yeah, Patty, that's the one I know, like the most. Not that she didn't know the others too, but Patty, she's known for a long, long time. Said she was a great lady. I believe it. I believe Patty is a great lady. And I believe that Patty just always wanted to give, probably, how it is, right? We all know that Hayden and Amalea, that Patty was taking care of them, right? I'm sure Cindy has her, guilt in there. And I think Patty has her guilt of that, trying to give these children everything. But in turn, probably giving them too much. And then they become expectation of it. And then they'll fuck her over and rip her off and, punch her and shit like that, right? And I do think Patty is a beautiful person with a great heart behind her. So anyways, I concur with that lady. Oh my God, I heard this really sad accident near Kitchener, Ontario today. Oh, yeah, wow. Yeah, there's been a few of those type of cases over the years, like 5 kids from one family. Yeah. Or where a whole family, minivan, kids and all. Yeah. Why is no one questioning what sock account? Which one? What sock account you talking about? I think, I feel personally that Malaya's maturity doesn't match her age. I think I think she has been through a lot. She's made a lot of bad choices. I don't think Malaya truly knows what it's like to be an independent female that knows self-love or instead of always looking for love from somebody else and stuff like that. But she left herself in a bad relationship. Jack and Lily are missing. She stayed. She knew drugs were going on, meth, stuff like that. Why is no one questioning this sock account? Like, wow, like yours? Like yours? Hmm. There was a Mennonite family. Ouch. Sorry for that family. Wow. Such a small world we live in. Honestly, it is. The happenstance. Trust me. I've taken care of emails from an ex-boss, and you know when you're being passive aggressive back in it, like, oh, I'm so sorry that you couldn't live without your asparagus. Let me just tag the store or whatever in your ticket, and did type of thing, right? Oh, I'm so sorry. So she's just like, but it's like really, like I remember my ex-husband's um my ex-husband's brother's girlfriend. I seen the name as soon as I saw it, so it truly is like you're thinking about all these thousands and thousands and millions of people in a sense, and all of a sudden you come across their email and you're just like, huh? We know who it is, Robin. Rogue. Oh, this one? I don't know. Well, I don't, what? I don't care. If people come in here and they're dickheads with names, and then they do that and I block them or whatever, and they come here with a sock account, honestly, if they cause trouble, they'll get out of here. But if they're being fine, then so be it, right? That I, that stuff I don't mind, as long as people are just being cordial and stuff like that, talking about the case, and stuff like that. If they were dickheads and I booted them the first time and they try to come back, that's fine, as long as they act. Or else if they don't, then I just freaking block them again and come back with another account. Just learn your lesson and be a decent person. If Malay tells the truth, she will be on the hook for, oh, oh, oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, Lordy, that's terrible art. Yeah, it is terrible. Well, absolutely. Remember the bus in Saskatchewan with all those hockey kids on it? You spelled etc. wrong and it's short. Road dead. You spell etc. wrong and it's short form for road dead. Huh? Night, you guys. Rogue, that makes sense now, but in the beginning it doesn't add up. Well, that's just it, right? Okay. I love you guys, but this chick is gonna go find something to eat. All right. Then I'm gonna toss this ass in that bed right behind me, play with my iPad, maybe message a couple things that I have to. And then yeah. And other than that, thank you guys for being here today. Jack and Lily, if you haven't hit that. Yeah, the Humboldt. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Couldn't think of it all of a sudden. But I do have a picture with when everyone was putting Humboldt up on their Facebooks and stuff like that. Yeah. Anyways, Trillia Michi. Okay. Anyways, guys, Jack and Lily prayers. Just gonna hit end stream and that, but thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Except for Chelsea, my evil twin sister.